Fitzpatrick takes the snap, drops back, lobs it back right corner. Decker! He's got it! Touchdown! Eric Decker scores! And the Jets have won it in overtime!
This is the Jet Take with Ben Blessington and Kyle Fahey.
Welcome back to another episode of the Jet Take. I'm your host, Ben Blessington. Joining me now, as always, is Mr. Money, Kyle Fahey. Kyle, how you doing, man? We're 8 days away from the NFL draft.
I bought my noose the other day, just in case Josh Allen gets picked.
Wow. Okay. Well, Kyle's in a good mood as always. Yeah, we'll be talking about that. I mean, we're just getting, every day is just closer to the Jets finally picking a franchise quarterback. To go over a few news stories today, Kyle. The Bills, their general manager, Bean, was upset, or he just voiced his, I guess, how would you word it? Displeasure, I guess that's a good word, that the Jets traded up so early. He said that normally these type of trade-ups, come later in the process. Tom Brady hasn't officially, declared whether he'll return for 2018. Neither has Gronkowski. And the Jets are about to pick their franchise quarterback. And the Jets are about to pick their franchise quarterback next week. So,
sounds like the dawn of a new era.
Yeah, things are looking up for the Jets. Oh, and speaking of, I guess we should probably mention the other team in the AFC East. Mike Tannenbaum is currently imploding them. So thank you, Mr. T, for big free agent signing Danny Amendola.
We didn't even need a billboard for that guy.
That was amazing. Anyway, so the Jets look primed and ready to take over this AFC East, and that might be for the first time in maybe 3 decades. That's not just fan optimism. Now look, as far as I'll say as far as the Patriots thing goes, Brady and Gronk will be back for this year, but it at least shows that. I think they will be, but it at least shows that their time is waning. So Brady might not be back in 2019 or 2020, and at that point, McDaniels could replace Belichick, and who knows? Anyways, it looks like we're coming to the end of the era of the New England Patriots dynasty. The Dolphins, I don't even know what they're doing. So it looks like Jets versus Bills right now, and the Jets currently have the advantage. Exactly. I mean, the Jets should be trotting out, Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield, while the Bills will be trotting out A.J. McCarron, Josh Allen, something like that. So
I'm really looking forward to that usual Thursday night football Jets-Bills matchup, and I'm just waiting for Josh McCown to torch A.J. McCarron.
That is a topic we're going to talk about in a bit, how these QB reps are going to be split up. But before we hop into it, we'll do some plugs. You can follow us at the Jet Take on Twitter. That's the best place to reach us. You can tweet at us. We'll tweet you right back. We also post all of our episodes there, so it's a great place to follow us. So just look us up really on any social media platform. Just look us up at the Jet Take, except our Instagram got hacked. So maybe don't follow that.
Nope.
You can find us.
It was a Russian troll. That's what we've determined.
I don't even know what happened, but honestly, who uses Instagram anyways? Twitter's where it's at. Anyways, you can listen to our show, though, on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. We're literally all over the place. Any place that you listen to podcasts, just search The Jet Take, and you should find our show. And you can also find us on turnonthejets.com. We have a very special guest on the line who we'll bring on in the next 2 minutes or so. Great Jets content over there, the best Jets draft coverage.
We're not biased, we swear.
I even before I did a podcast, Turn on the Jets was my go-to place for Jets news. Anyways, so go to turnonthejets.com. That's your best place for these Jets draft coverage and Jets off-season coverage. As Kyle, this year looks like it's going to be a lot more fun than the last two. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Joe Caporoso, founder of Turn on the Jets, and I guess
our boss.
Technically our boss. So I guess we have to be.
We got to be good tonight.
Kyle, act normal.
I've already passed up 2 Helen Keller jokes, so I'm on my best behavior.
All right. Anyways, Joe Caporoso, good to have you on the show, man. How you doing?
Gentlemen, thank you for having me. You guys sound very grown up and professional, and I am very impressed. Very positive, too, to kick off the show. I like it.
Yeah. We've come a long ways since I believe it was our 4th or 5th episode where we live streamed the Jets picking Christian Hackenberg.
I cried.
All you could hear was just 2 squeaky voices basically crying. Anyways, but this year's looking a lot better. Season 3 of the Jet Take, our voice is a little deeper, and it looks like the Jets aren't going to pick a project unless they fall in love with Josh Allen's arm. Anyways, Joe, we haven't really had an opportunity to talk to you too much about the offseason. So before we really get into all the draft stuff, because obviously that's what everybody's thinking about and talking about, let's recap a bit of the offseason before the big trade-up and all that. Joe, what are your thoughts on the Jets free agency and their offseason so far? Obviously, quite a few moves made. Jets came into the offseason with so much money. A lot of fans wanted Kirk Cousins. That didn't work out, but maybe that's for the better. Just your overall thoughts on how Maccagnan has done in free agency.
I like what they've done overall. I don't think it's been, an absolutely spectacular knockout off season, but they've clearly learned from their past mistakes. If you look at the age of the players they signed, if you look at how they structured their contracts, they clearly learned from some of the mistakes post-2015. And I thought it was encouraging that they were able to internally scout themselves and say, you know what, we don't need to overpay for Demario Davis. We could just go sign Avery Williamson. And we don't need to overpay for Austin Seferian-Jenkins because tight end might not be that heavily integrated into our offense, and we have Quincy Enunwa coming back, and he could slide inside. And they clearly addressed two of their major areas of need outside of quarterback, obviously because of what happened with Cousins, but going to get Tremaine Johnson, who is arguably the best cornerback on the market. They had the money and they had the cushion to pay him what they paid him, and he will help develop Jamal Adams and Marcus May. So when you invest such premium assets on the safety position, you better do everything you can to help those guys succeed. And getting a legitimate lead corner in Tremaine Johnson does help with that. And then bringing back Morris Claiborne for a role better suited to him as a number 2 cornerback instead of a lead cornerback, I think was another smart move. Personally, at center, obviously I would have preferred Ryan Jensen, but Spencer Long will be an upgrade without a doubt over Wesley Johnson. They also brought in Travis Swanson, who could help compete. He was not very good in Detroit the past few years, but at least he's another body with some starting experience. I think what was good in particular is how the Jets sort of filled out the roster in that second wave of free agency. So they sort of got through that first week, but then they were very targeted in making more depth additions, getting Terrell Pryor for very good value. They got Isaiah Crowell also in that first week for good value, getting a returner in Andre Roberts, who should hopefully finally fill a long-standing need for them, and then further adding depth at the linebacker position with guys like Kevin Pierre-Louis, Neville Hewitt, and other bodies that they continue to bring back along the defensive line, bringing back Mike Pennell, bringing Xavier Cooper back. These aren't flashy names, but they do help fill out some of the depth concerns on the defensive side of the football. I still think there's a lot of work to do with this roster. They're not going to be able to do quite as much work with some of the draft picks they gave up, but after not getting Kirk Cousins, I think they did what they needed to do in trading up in the NFL draft. And I think for what they did pivot-wise at quarterback in free agency after missing on Cousins, I thought going to take a flyer on Bridgewater on a basically $500,000 contract was a smart move. I'm glad they did that instead of paying A.J. McCarron $10 million or paying somebody else. I'm not crazy about how much they paid McCown, but considering their cap situation, it's hard to get too frustrated about that. But I think the hope is with Bridgewater, he shows he can be healthy, and then maybe you could trade him at the end of the preseason and get a draft pick back, a late-round draft pick, but at least a pick back, considering you have one less pick next year already.
Yeah, Joe, a lot of things you touched on there. I'll start with kind of the first thing you mentioned was how Maccagnan and the Jets kind of learned from their mistakes and structured their contracts. I mean, they obviously targeted a lot of young players. I believe they're going to enter the regular season with only 3 players over the age of 30, and one of those is Andre Roberts. But besides that, all of their free agents were young, up-and-coming guys, and a lot of the contracts the Jets can get out of next year or the year after that. So I wanted to ask you, what are your takeaways from, obviously you talked about it's great to see Maccagnan learn from his mistakes, but what do you think you can take away from how the Jets have structured all these kind of 1-year, 2-year deals? Do you think it signals maybe they see the 2019 crop of free agents and they're kind of putting their chips aside and just saying we have an eye on a few guys in there? Or do you think it's just Maccagnan's learned from his mistakes, it's smart investment, he's not going to make the mistakes of Mike Tannenbaum where he has $100 million in cap, he burns it all, and then you're in cap hell for the next 6 years. Yeah, as he's currently doing with the Miami Dolphins. Just what are your thoughts on how they've managed the cap overall and these contracts?
Well, I think this is becoming more of a common practice in the NFL. I do think most contracts are now structured where you can get out usually after 1, if not 1, then 2 years. And you got to find the balance, right? So the Jets, we don't want to keep hearing year after year that, they got a lot of cap flexibility, they're going to have $100 million in cap space, because cap space can be something that sounds better than it actually is, because a lot of times top free agents don't always hit the market. So Drew Brees, Le'Veon Bell, DeMarcus Lawrence, Ezekiel Ansah, a lot of time was spent talking about players like that who didn't actually hit the market. So I think right now, if you look at next year's free agent class, you'd say, oh my God, Khalil Mack, Dwayne Brown, maybe Ansah and Lawrence hit the market now, and a few other big names out there. But a lot of those guys will either get franchise tagged or just stay on their current team. So you don't want to rely too much on having gobs of cap space every single year and that being the answer to your problems. But I think what was good is that some of the guys the Jets signed, like a guy like Spencer Long, considering his injury history, you don't want to lock yourself into 3 or 4 years with him. So you keep your flexibility there. You're basically seeing if he could work out this year. And if he can, you already have him under contract for the second year. If not, it's easy to get out. And it's the same thing with Crowell. If he could actually be a really effective lead back on early downs, great. You roll with him for another year. If not, it's not hard to walk away. So the Jets really didn't pay any sort of top-tier talent guys except for Jermaine Johnson. He's really the only guy they signed who you would say, well, he's one of the best players in the league in his position. Everyone else they brought in is more sort of either a capable starter, a guy like Lorimer Williamson, or a guy who's going to be more of a depth player. Even someone like Terrell Pryor, the Jets aren't going to count on him to be their lead receiver and play 700-800 snaps this year. They're going to see what they can get from him in a depth role. If he finds his form from a few years ago, then maybe you double down with him long term. But really, I think part of the driving factor in how they structured their contracts is that outside of Jermaine Johnson, they didn't sign anyone who would probably be considered a premier free agent.
Hey, Joe, it's a sarcastic one now. You're talking about these moves. I want to know what your least favorite move was this year.
My least favorite move, I thought paying Josh McCown, what did they pay him, $9-10 million, was a little over the top. I worry about the Jets talking themselves into trying to play McCown more than he needs to this year. I think every snap or game started from McCown this year is a waste of everyone's time. I'm a big believer in playing the rookie right out of the gate, let him learn and develop in this year so you're ready to compete by year 2, just like the Eagles and Rams did with Wentz and Goff. Elsewhere, again, I would have tried to get a Ryan Jensen or a Weston Richburg even over Spencer Long. I worry about Long staying healthy. He's been banged up. He's just a guy who moved over to center only a couple of years ago. I know he'll be an upgrade over Wesley Johnson, but I don't know if that necessarily means he's going to be a good starter. I don't know. There's a very good chance he might end up just being a below-average starter or a guy who's banged up. So I would have liked to see potentially a different signing there, and I'm still a little worried about the overall depth on the offensive line, but maybe that gets addressed in the NFL draft. I don't really think there was much they could have done to upgrade pass rusher because there wasn't a lot of options out there. I'm still a little worried about the cornerback depth. The Jets are basically going to run a base nickel, which means Buster Screen is basically a starter, and he's going to be an easy guy for opposing offenses to target. I would not have mind seeing them close on easy gains who they had in later in free agency. And I don't know, maybe they'll draft another guy who could beat out Screen, or maybe when Bashaud Breeland gets healthy, they'll look at him. I'm still a little worried about that cornerback depth because Claiborne is a guy we know who can get banged up, and if he does get banged up, then you have Screen as your number 2 corner, and you're looking at a guy like Justin Burris or Darryl Roberts potentially having to play major reps, which will be a problem.
Yeah, I agree. And I mentioned cutting Buster Screen last week, and I was crucified, basically. Just want to throw that out there, coughing at Ben right now. What was your favorite signing of the offseason? I mean, there were a couple really good ones.
At a high level, I'm excited about Jermaine Johnson. They needed a top flight corner, a guy who's a playmaker and could help force some turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. It's hard not to be excited about that signing. Digging a little deeper, I think going 3 years younger and getting Avery Williamson instead of Demario Davis was a smart move. I think with Davis, you're going to look at the full body of work. You got to look at his 82 games versus his last 14 games last year when he went from being a below-average starter to being a borderline Pro Bowl player. So I'm glad the Jets didn't overpay for a guy who's about to be 30 and went younger with Williamson. I like that move a lot. And I like taking the flyer on Terrell Pryor because I think paired with Anderson, paired with Jermaine Kearse, they have a really solid top 4 of guys with a big catch radius to help out their rookie quarterback. I think at a minimum, Pryor will be very effective in the red zone and be a guy who could work outside the numbers as a vertical threat.
Yeah, and Joe, obviously the biggest part of the offseason was how are the Jets going to handle the quarterback situation. You touched on it a bit with McCown, Bridgewater. Going into the free agency, a lot of Jets fans, including myself, were on board with bringing in Kirk Cousins. That didn't work out, but I believe the Jets made an even better move by trading up. Part of the reason I wanted Kirk Cousins was I didn't believe that the quarterback that the Jets wanted was going to make it to 6 and whatnot. But it worked out for the Jets. They didn't get Cousins. They saved themselves, $30 million. They were able to move up to 3 without giving up a first-round pick. Are you happy with how this whole quarterback room is turned out? You talked about McCown, Bridgewater. Next week, hopefully we'll be talking about a Rosen or a Mayfield. Are you happy with how Maccagnan has handled specifically the quarterback position, which is a position that he's struggled with in his tenure?
Yeah, look, I think the Jets did what they needed to did what they had to do after they didn't get Kirk Cousins. They cannot keep playing this low-stakes, $5 poker, take a second-round flyer, sign a journeyman veteran to a 1 or 2 year deal, approach a quarterback. They needed to put their chips in the middle of the table and go get their guy. If you sit at number 6, you don't know what Denver's going to do. You don't know if Buffalo, Miami, Arizona, or even New England is going to find a way to leapfrog you and leave you with your 4th or 5th quarterback on the board. So obviously I like a quarterback room of Josh McCown, Teddy Bridgewater, and either Baker Mayfield or Josh Rosen better than a quarterback room of Josh McCown, Bryce Petty, who will be out of the NFL in a year, Christian Hackenberg, who will be out of the NFL in a year. So it's an upgrade there. Now it's just a matter of nailing the pick. And why I like this trade maybe more than most people is because I think you could make a case that Josh Rosen and Baker Mayfield are the best quarterback in this class. I'm not convinced that Sam Darnold is a slam dunk QB1. If anything, I have Rosen as my QB1 with Mayfield and Darnold right behind him. So the Jets are going to get a chance to get arguably the best quarterback in this class at number 3 overall. I might get to pick between 2 of them when it comes down to Rosen and Mayfield if the Browns take Darnold and the Giants stay put and take Saquon Barkley or Bradley Chubb. So the Jets have put themselves in position to guarantee that they're going to get arguably the best quarterback in this class and the guy who will be the face of this franchise going forward. Now all I have to do is not mess it up. I mean, I think most Jet fans, rightfully so, will be happy or satisfied with Josh Rosen or Baker Mayfield or even Sam Darnold if he does fall down to number 3. You need to avoid doing something like taking Josh Allen at number 3 or avoid doing something even crazier, which will never happen in a million years, not taking a quarterback.
Yeah, I know there's a slightly large contingency of Jets fans that somehow believe that the Jets have traded up for Saquon Barkley. But you kind of mentioned it towards the end of what you were saying in Sam Darnold. I agree with you. I actually, I think our QB rankings might match perfectly. I have Rosen as my 1, Mayfield as my 2, Darnold as my 3. I have Jackson as my 4 and Allen as my 5th. But in the event, look, Darnold is expected to be the number 1 overall pick, and there's been strong reports that he's really the only quarterback that the Giants would take at 2, whether those reports are factual, which you have to believe even if the Browns were to pass and take a guy like Josh Allen, let's hope they do that. The Giants would probably take him. But let's say the Browns take Josh Allen, the Giants take Saquon Barkley. I mean, it sounds like you and I agree that it probably should be Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield, but what would be your thoughts if the Jets were to take Sam Darnold? Obviously, in 2015, a guy like Leonard Williams fell, and he wasn't supposed to. Last year, Jamal Adams fell, and he wasn't supposed to. So Maccagnan's had a history of getting lucky. Sam Darnold, touted as the top rookie quarterback by many, although I might not necessarily agree with that. Doesn't sound like you agree with that. How would you feel about a potential Sam Darnold selection?
I mean, if I had to guess, putting my feelings aside, if I had to guess, I would say the Jets probably have Sam Darnold as the top quarterback on their draft board. I just feel like he would probably check all the boxes that we've traditionally seen them want to check. And I think similar to like their pre-draft talk and thoughts around Adams, like they haven't even wrapped their head around the thought of Darnold possibly being there at number 3. I think they've just assumed internally he'll be gone at number 1, which I do still think will happen. If he is there at number 3, though, I would not be surprised at all if the Jets took him. Do I necessarily agree with that? No. I'd probably still take Rosen and even Mayfield before him, but all 3 of them are so close that it's not the kind of pick that I think you could freak out about. I mean, Darnold's 20 years old, has immense physical talent, has a game that reminds me a lot of an Andrew Luck when he was healthy, and he's the kind of guy that has all the attributes that you look for. Where he could play this year, and it might be ugly at times, and he might turn the football over a lot, but there's no reason to think that he won't continue to develop with the talent he's shown at USC and eventually be a guy who could be around an Andrew Luck level starter. So would it be what I would do at number 3? Maybe not. but it's definitely a justifiable pick. I think any of those three guys are a justifiable pick, and they're great so closely that if you're going to freak out about one of the three of them, you're probably reaching a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've all been saying since the beginning of the offseason. Just find a way to land Mayfield, Rosen, or Darnold. And Scott from Play Like a Jet podcast, I can't tell if he was quoting somebody else, but he had talked about how Darnold might be a guy who leads the league in interceptions his rookie year, but could lead the league in touchdowns in year 4 or whatever. I think the one interesting thing to note is that it's becoming, and it's smokescreen season, but apparently a few reports that I've read have said that there's an increasing number of league officials that think Allen could go number 1. The Jets, on the last day of scheduled visits, had Darnold in today and kind of scrambled and got him in the building today. So maybe they believe there's a chance that the Browns could go Allen, and then the Giants are in love with Barkley or whatnot. Anyways, as far as we've kind of talked about Darnold falling, but I want to get your best case scenario for the top 2 picks for the Jets on draft night, and then followed by the worst case scenario for the Jets. Obviously, the trade-up has allowed them to get one of the Darnold, Rosen, or Mayfield. So the beauty of the trade is there's not really a horrible scenario for the Jets, but I wanted to get your thoughts on leaving day 1 of the draft, with the best scenario, I guess, with who the Browns take, who the Giants take, and you can even throw who the Jets take, and then as far as the worst case scenario, which would really just be taking Josh Allen, but as far as who the Browns and Giants could take as well.
Well, let's say we have full faith in the Jets' evaluations, the way they evaluate quarterbacks. You would say the best case scenario is that the Browns take Josh Allen, the Giants take either Saquon Barkley, Bradley Chubb, a non-quarterback they're unable to trade back. That basically gives you the pick of all 3 of the top quarterbacks in the NFL draft, and it means the Jets could pick whoever their number 1 quarterback is, as long as it's not someone illogical like Josh Allen. So they're getting their guy. 100% they're getting their guy. Whether they take Darnold, Rosen, or Mayfield, they're getting to make that pick. Now, in that scenario, I'd be the happiest if they picked Rosen, but still more than happy if they took Mayfield or Darnold. The worst-case scenario would probably be something like the Browns take – this won't happen, but the Browns throw a huge curveball and take Rosen, and then somebody moves up and takes Mayfield at number 2. But let's look at something a little more realistic. Browns take Darnold, a team like Buffalo leapfrogs and gets up to number 2, or the Giants just stay put at number 2 and do the right thing and take Josh Rosen, which limits your options a little bit. And even that is not a terrible scenario because the Jets could still take Baker Mayfield. Obviously, the worst thing the Jets could do would be to have Rosen, Mayfield, and Allen on the board and deciding to take Josh Allen, a decision I think would ultimately lead to Mike McCagnon and Todd Bowles being fired about 12 months from now or less than 12 months from now. But it's just so hard to construct a bad scenario because the way everything plays out, you're going to have your chance at Mayfield or Rosen no matter what. That was the beauty of moving up to number 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking about the quarterbacks right now, and like Ben said, it's smoke screen season. It's also a couple different seasons, just as D. Wade.
All right.
Had to put that in there.
Keep going.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the rumors today that Baker Mayfield's a lock for 3 at the Jets and Josh Rosen's going to fall back?
It's tough to say. I wrote about this earlier in the week. Basically, since Baker Mayfield took his visit to the Jets, all the smoke has all of a sudden started blasting towards him going to the Jets. And I think that started with Robert Klemko all of a sudden right after he left Florham Park, basically saying that his money was on Mayfield to the Jets. Adam Schefter oddly went out of his way to tweet that Baker Mayfield was going to meet with Christopher Johnson, something that I'm pretty sure Christopher Johnson's going to do with every quarterback who comes to Florham Park. Yeah. But the fact that Schefter tweeted that calls a little more attention to it. Then you had Benjamin Albright, who had not said the Jets were interested in Mayfield, all of a sudden in line with that Schefter tweet, in line with Klemko. The 3 of them have really, those tweets have really kind of driven this discourse, and now all of a sudden you're seeing a lot more people saying, yeah, Mayfield's the most likely guy. We've seen Rich Cimini say that. We've seen Tom McVay say that. We've seen Tony Pauline say that today. Was there a huge pivot after his visit? Did the Jets basically tell him, hey, if you're on the board at number 3, you're our guy, and Mayfield's camp has not been shy about telling people that? There's a really good possibility that happened. I don't think Rosen is going to fall that far. I hope he doesn't fall that far because I could see a smart team like New England moving up and taking advantage of that, and that's the last thing I want to have happen draft night, besides the Jets drafting Josh Allen. But I've been a guy who's regularly mocked or projected Rosen to the Jets at 3. I haven't made my final mock decision yet. I'll do that next week. But you had to ask me today, I'd probably say about 45% Mayfield, 40% Rosen, and then 15%, Allen or Darnold, depending if something weird happened.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some fake news media at work per usual around these parts. When we draft a quarterback, regardless of who it is, when do you think they're going to start seeing snaps? Obviously, guys are going to be ahead of them on the depth chart to start. Don't know how it's going to end, but we can assume McCown and Bridgewater have the leg up on these guys going into camp. What are your predictions for that?
I mean, I'm sure McCown's going to be the first guy to take snaps in OTAs and even early in training camp. Bridgewater, we don't know how healthy he's going to be. I don't even know if he's going to participate in off-season activities. I would tell people to temper some of their optimism with Bridgewater. There's a reason that the only contract he was able to get was a $500,000 contract to potentially be a third-string quarterback with the Jets. I love Bridgewater. I'm rooting for him, but that was what the league thought of his health. Like, that was the kind of contract he had to take. So I would still be a little wary about expecting too much out of him. I'm sure the Jets are going to say it's McCown's job to lose. He's the starter. And I hope that whether it's Baker Mayfield or Josh Rosen, both more than capable starting year one, they are starting sooner rather than later. I would start them both week one. Let's get them out there. Let's get them learning. Let's get them developing. Let's get those reps. You're not learning anything from sitting on the bench, and you're not gaining anything by playing 39-year-old Josh McCown. It would not surprise me if the Jets started the season with McCown and he starts the first, 4 to 7 games or something. I think that's wasted time, but it wouldn't surprise me if it happens. I would guess at a minimum the rookie starts at least 10 games this year, though.
Yeah, you mentioned something interesting, that there is this kind of old philosophy that's kind of changed in recent years, that, the rookie quarterback should come in and sit. As we've seen with Christian Hackenberg, he's been sitting for 2 years now, and you have to wonder how much has he really learned. I agree with you that I think, rookie quarterbacks learn the most from just playing right away. Do you think, though, that for a guy like, I think for Josh Rosen, it's unquestionable that he should just start from day one. I don't think that there's much he can learn from sitting on the sidelines. But do you think there is, if the Jets were to take a guy like Baker Mayfield or, God forbid, Josh Allen, that there is some sort of, value in having those guys sit, specifically for Baker, transitioning from a Big 12 offense to an NFL scheme, and then for Josh Allen, obviously trying to, mold his potential into something that, can actually produce. Just kind of your philosophy on starting quarterbacks versus sitting them, and then specifically with these quarterbacks.
I mean, I form a camp that you better start playing these guys right away. Deshaun Watson's playing right away, Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson. The list goes on and on. I think it's becoming more common that you just want to start this guy right out of the gate. When people point to an Aaron Rodgers or Jimmy Garoppolo example, those guys were sitting behind Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So Baker Mayfield or whoever the Jets draft isn't going to be sitting behind a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's going to be sitting behind Josh McCown. And listen, everything I've heard about Josh McCown is that he is literally the greatest human being alive. Everyone around the team loves him. So I get the thought and the sentiment of having him around. I don't doubt he's going to be a coach with this organization when he's done. But McCown's track record as a bridge quarterback and guys he's mentored, and this is not his fault. These guys weren't good, but you can't transfer all of those skills. Like, he mentored Johnny Manziel. He mentored John Beck. He mentored Jamarcus Russell. It didn't save these guys from anything. These guys have to learn by going out there and playing. So, yes, I think McCown could help show the rookie how to be a professional, how to go about learning the Jets playbook. But at the end of the day, the Jets they're going to draft this guy at number 3 to be their franchise quarterback. And you got to get him out there and get him the reps, get him a start in New England so he knows what that's all about. Get him a start in Buffalo when it's 10 degrees out and windy so he knows that. So when you're ready to compete with your $100 million of cap space for 2019, you guys are ready to go. And we're not having a season where Josh McCown starts 12, 13 games, and the narrative for 2019 becomes, well, this will be Rosen's first real year as a starter, so you can't really have any expectations for the Jets this season. The team hasn't made the playoffs in 7 years, third longest drought in the NFL. You've got a fast track of development of your number 3 pick. You're not taking somebody at 20 or in the second round here. This guy should be ready to play by day one.
Yeah, and I agree. Shifting away from the quarterbacks, though, I mean, I know that's everybody's favorite topic, but this roster does have quite a few holes. I know McCagnon's done a solid job of addressing it, with some of those depth signings that you mentioned earlier with Rawls and Pryor and Hewitt, Walford, et cetera. but probably the most glaring need right now is a pass rusher. Do you think the Jets are addressing that in the third round? And who do you see being do you have any guys in mind that you think could be available with that third round pick to try to fix that glaring need for the Jets?
It's really tough to say how the board's going to break all the way down in round 3. I mean, to try to pigeonhole somebody, you have no idea how those first 2 rounds are going to break out. And to expect a third rounder to come in and make an immediate impact is probably naive. And the Jets have not exactly been great at finding pass rush production in the middle of rounds with this regime, with Dylan Donahue or Lorenzo Baldwin. Jenkins has been a nice find, but he's not really known for his pass rushing ability. He's more of a set-the-edge, high-energy guy. He's more of a complementary piece. So I think you're going to see a lot of Jet fans talk about and mock a pass rusher at number 3, whether it's a guy like Dorian Armstrong Jr. or the kid from Rutgers they had come in visit recently. His name is eluding me right now. But we got to see how the board breaks. I don't know that you could just automatically assume that the Jets are just definitely going to take an edge rusher in the third round. I would not be surprised at all if they took a running back like Rashad Penny if he happened to be there, or ended up looking at another position to support the quarterback, whether that's a tackle to develop down the road or a tight end even.
Yeah, and continuing with the linebacking core, another rookie for the Jets 2 years ago, Darren Lee, been playing a lot of middle linebacker. He's had his ups and downs, plenty of downs, whether that be in coverage, as the Jets expected to take him and have him be that coverage linebacker.
Can we slander him? Are we allowed to slander him right now?
I'm not slandering him, but on the flip side, he has shown.
I already let the ASJ thing pass tonight, Joe. You slandered him a little earlier.
Who did I slander earlier?
Kyle has a thing about if we have somebody on the show, he doesn't want to slander them. I feel like that has bias. So no, I give my.
I am incredibly biased towards for ASJ.
Anyways,
that's fine.
Anyways, Joe, but as far as Darren Lee goes, what are you expecting from him in 2018? He's not going to have a guy like Demario Davis, who I felt raised his play to a reasonable level. I mean, there was a stretch there in the middle of the season where he had a few solid games. Obviously Jets fans are looking to see more of the positives that we've seen. We've seen a flash on a third down where Darren Lee makes a great tackle in the backfield or a nice break in the ball or whatnot, but he hasn't really been able to consistently put it together game in and game out. And last year he had a guy like Demario Davis next to him who was a vocal leader and a guy who was leading by example. Now he's going to have a guy who's practically the same age as him, a little older, in Avery Williamson. What are you expecting from Lee in 2018?
Hopefully a big step forward. I think through 2 years, he's basically been a fairly below-average starter, which when you take a guy in the first round, you're expecting him to be a plus starter heading into year 3. He hasn't been there yet, and I do think there's a reason that the Jets signed Kevin Pierre-Louis to a 2-year contract. They added Kevin Minter late in free agency, a guy who's got a lot of starting experience in Todd Bowles' defense. Darren Lee's still going to be the opening week 1 starter next to Avery Williamson. I do think Williamson might come off the field in some coverage situations for Pierre-Louis, but a guy like Minter could press Lee for playing time. Kind of similar to what we saw in 2015, where actually Demario Davis was eventually pushed off the field by Aaron Henderson, of all people, who played well down the stretch and then ultimately, flamed out and didn't do anything here. Davis gets, released and then ends up coming back. But with Lee, I just think they signed him to be someone who is going to be steady in coverage at the linebacker position and be a playmaker. And part of that is probably on the Jets not using him as a pass rusher as much, but he's just struggled with consistency. Still misses too many tackles. Still looks a little out of place as an inside linebacker. Now, he's still very young. Still has plenty of athleticism with flashes at times. I just wonder with Lee, is he better long-term as a situational player in the nickel defense and in third downs, bouncing between inside and outside linebacker, than he is actually ultimately going to be as an every down inside linebacker? And that would be frustrating for a guy you spent a first-round pick on, but through 2 years, it's starting to kind of look that way. But we'll see if he takes a step forward in year 3.
Joe, we actually have a couple caller questions, which is weird. They hit us up on the chat. Never had that before, but I guess there's a first time for everything. I guess we'll hear Mike later on in the episode, so shout out to Mike. These are his 2 questions. Basically, he's wondering if keeping Hackenberg is going to be harmful to the team overall because it could be taking away reps from other people.
I think the Jets are going to cut ties with Hackenberg after the draft. I think they learned their lesson from carrying 4 quarterbacks back in 2016, and I don't think there's any illusions about Hackenberg's future here. You saw that by bringing McCown back, by signing Bridgewater, and by now drafting a quarterback. I think they have a Hail Mary thought in their head that they could trade him for a conditional 7th-round pick. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think within a month or two after the draft, both Hackenberg and Petty will be released.
And Mike's final question, do you expect a better year from Brian Winters?
I hope so. I mean, we should expect it. He was definitely not healthy last year, and it showed. I mean, he struggled a lot last season. So did James Carpenter. I think some of that was because Winters was banged up, and some of that was because Wesley Johnson was awful. So I think with a better center next to him and him being healthy, yeah, I expect to see him back closer to the form that got him a contract extension here.
All right, Joe. A few more final questions here. I have a few, I guess, prediction questions, some surprise questions. So we'll jump into it. Biggest surprise player in 2018?
Biggest surprise player in 2018?
Smith.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to dig a little deep here. I would say Mike Pennell. That's not a flashy answer, and he's probably best known for helping the tank out last season in the Carolina game, but he was good in limited duty last year, and he's going to play a bigger role up front. And internally, the Jets have high hopes for him and think he could be a key piece on the defensive line.
All right. Which rookie needs to take the next step in 2018?
So which
Former
2017 draft pick?
Sorry. I messed that up. Yeah, last year's rookie.
So I think of the less obvious guys, we'll move it away from Adams and May, who definitely we want to see take a step forward. I think Elijah McGuire should have an opportunity to do a lot of the stuff that Matt Forte was doing in the passing game in terms of being split out and getting a lot more targets that Forte was previously getting. I just think with Stewart and Hansen, I don't see how they're going to have an opportunity to get playing time or get targets. I mean, right now they're the 6th and 7th receiver on the team, and there's 17 receivers on this roster. I just don't see a scenario where unless injuries occur, they're going to have much of an opportunity to do anything, whereas with McGuire, I do think in passing situations and on third downs, he can work himself into getting a decent amount of targets and become a nice little piece on the offense.
Yeah, and Joe, I saw your comment. There was a post earlier in the week talking about McCagman's draft success. That 21 of his 22 drafted players or something like that are on the roster. Obviously, as you pointed out, and many of the Jets fans pointed out, well, that might not necessarily be an accurate description of how his drafts have gone. Yeah, there's at least a few whiffs in there. I was wondering, do you think there's going to be any sort of cast-off from any of his previous drafts that's going to come back and surprise people? So, like guys like Lorenzo Malden, Dylan Donahue, Devin Smith.
By a Lorenzo Malden beer pong table. They're on sale.
Okay. Devin Smith.
I mean, I love Devin Smith. I don't think it's going to happen for him. Definitely not Dylan Donahue. Maybe a guy like Deion Simon, just because they're so thin on the defensive line, could work his way into the rotation. But like you said, this 21 of 22 number is pretty silly because Hackenberg, Petty, Smith, Sherman, Peak, a lot of these guys are going to be released in the coming months or so. So it's a weird metric, but Deion Simon might be a guy to watch. Obviously, we already talked about McGuire. But outside of that, there's not too many people who jump off the page. Malden's going to get the opportunity to be a third down pass rusher. If he could stay healthy, I could see him sticking on the 53 and at a minimum at least being a situational player. But he's not going to be the kind of guy who's getting 6, 7, 8 sacks a season.
Yeah, and keeping with these prediction questions, only a few more, and then we'll let you go. Let you get back to your busy life running the TOJ empire, among other things. A surprise cut in training camp. I know it's a little early. We haven't really got a full idea of what the draft's going to look like with no or what the roster's going to look like with no draft or no undrafted free agents. But a surprise cut. I know earlier you shocked some people when you predicted that Darius Stewart wouldn't be on the roster in 2018. Would that be your guy, or do you have another guy that you think that not many fans are talking about who won't be on the team in 2018?
Well, I think one of the two, if Stewart and Hansen aren't going to be on the team next year, maybe they get bumped down to the practice squad or something. But the top 4 receivers, I think, are going to be Anderson, Anua, Curse, Pryor. Then I think they're going to keep Roberts as a returner. Maybe if they carry 7 receivers, they keep both of them. But I would not be surprised if one of the 2 of them got bumped off the roster. I don't agree with it, but it would not shock me if the Jets drafted a running back if they ended up trying to trade Bilal Powell. Again, don't agree with it, but would not surprise me if it happened. But you got to kind of read the tea leaves with them trying to aggressively get Jerick McKinnon after they had already signed Isaiah Crowell. On the defensive side of the ball, I know a lot of fans still harbor high hopes for guys like Jeremy Clark, Derek Jones, and Rashad Robinson. You would not be surprised if 2 of the 3 of them, or all 3 of them, were not on the roster long term. I wouldn't, because if the Jets draft another cornerback, all of a sudden that position gets very crowded very fast. So I wouldn't be surprised if those guys ended up off the roster as well.
All right, 2 big events in the next, or I guess 1 big event, 1 mediocre event in the next 2 weeks, or I guess the next week, actually. The draft is just rapidly approaching. But we'll start with the first one. Schedule release a 2-hour special, because that's necessary, tomorrow on NFL Network. Do you have any sort of schedule prediction, or at least anything you'd like to see as far as primetime goes? A little, obviously a question you can't really predict, but any observations you'd like to add about the Jets' 2018 schedule?
Well, I'll stick with some of my random predictions from the other night that they'll open up at Tennessee. Somebody was tweeting out what looks to be like a stolen picture from the Packers facility that indicates that the Jets will be playing their home opener week 2 against the Packers, so maybe that's a thing. I think a lot of people are circling a home Monday night game or Sunday night game against Minnesota in the Kirk Cousins Bowl. And then I would not be surprised. We know they're going to have a Thursday night game against a divisional opponent. I marked that down as probably being against Buffalo. We know they're going to finish with a divisional opponent. Feels like they're overdue to finish against Miami. So those are some of my high-level predictions. I guess they have the 1 Thursday night game, then 1 more primetime game, finish with Miami, open with Tennessee, week 2 home against Green Bay for the home opener.
All right, Joe, last question. This is a show about takes, and we like them hot. I want some bold predictions for draft night, Joe. You don't necessarily have to give away who you think the Jets are going to take. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the Jets, but just I want some bold prediction, hot takes. Any surprises on draft night?
New England will take a quarterback in the first round. I can't exactly put my name on who it is going to be, but they will take a quarterback in the first round. 7 total quarterbacks will go in the first round. On Dan Mosher's article that we had. And
Daniel,
I would say there's a better chance than there should be of Josh Allen going first overall. I think it's not like 80-20. I think it's more like 60-40 for Darnold, which makes it alarmingly close that Cleveland would take the 5th or 6th best quarterback in the draft with the first overall pick.
That is the most Cleveland thing ever, though.
Let's just hope they do it so we don't even have to think about the Jets taking Allen. We can just sit back and know that the Jets are going to have the pick of their litter and not have to worry about it unless they decide to take like Mason Rudolph. But besides that, Joe, thank you so much for coming on our show. My life, so. Yeah.
Hey, happy to do it. Keep up the good work, fellas.
And well, thank you so much. Really quickly, shout out your social media so our listeners can slide you a follow. If they're not already, Joe, obviously you have a massive social media following. But if our listeners for some reason aren't followed to one of the top guys out there on the Jets Twitterverse, just give out your handle.
I am on Twitter at J Caporoso, JCAPOSO. Follow Turn on the Jets Facebook page. Subscribe to all those Turn on the Jets digital podcasts, including this one right here. And we got a crap ton. I won't curse. We got a crap ton of content.
Oh, no, we can curse.
All right, we have a shit ton of content on the
There we go.
10 days. All right.
All right. Well, now we'll have to click the explicit option on iTunes, but I guess that doesn't matter. It was worth it. It was it was for emphasis.
We break it at least 10 times a show. Right.
Okay. Kyle breaks
it.
Keep it.
I'm going to sign off now, but keep it family safe going forward, please.
That the direct orders from the boss man, Kyle. Anyways, Joe, thank you for coming on, man. Let's hope the Jets don't mess this up, and I hope you have a good week. Hope to hear from you soon in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Joe Caporoso. Kyle, we're going to get to the callers. We have quite a few on board.
Yeah, we got a lot.
But really quickly, I just want to get any thoughts there. Generally, when we have somebody on, if it's Joe, an analyst, or a player or something, you don't necessarily get a chance to chime in on any of your opinions. So I was wondering if you had anything that he had talked about that you wanted to give your thoughts on.
I agree with most of the stuff that Joe says. I didn't really have anything that really stuck out to me, to be honest.
All right, well then I'll give you one question, and we'll go to callers. I want your quarterback rankings for this draft. I know we've done this, but I'm wondering if there's any changes. Well, hold on. I was gonna segue it, or I guess not. I was gonna link it to Joe's call. Joe talked about 7 quarterbacks going in the first round. I wanted to know your top 7, not just your top 5, Kyle, through your curveball. How do you see these top 7 playing out. I don't necessarily think there's going to be 7, but I think he's right. I think there's going to be at least 5. And definitely in the first 2 rounds there's going to be 7, probably more. So, Kyle, I wanted to get your top 7 quarterbacks. How would you rank them? And just, yeah.
My top 5, I mean, we've discussed them at God knows what end and amount. Right now, it is Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen as my top 5. And then it's probably Mason Rudolph and Kyle Latalua.
All right. Well, we will stick with that. And
I can see Latalua sneaking into the early second round. I don't agree with the 7 quarterbacks in the first round, primarily because I don't think there's 7 teams who, 1, need, and 2, are willing enough to spend first-round capital on an exception to the top 3 mediocre quarterbacks.
I think I could see Latalua being the Patriots guy. I don't think they're going to take...
I think they're either going to take Rosen or Jackson if they get the opportunity to.
I so don't want... I just want the... I'll say this. I just don't want the Patriots to get any of the top 4 guys. And that doesn't include that. They can have Allen all they want. It might happen, you're right.
You got to remember this. They gave up Jimmy Garoppolo. They gave up their future.
No, I'm not saying they need a future. You're right. And they have 2 first-round picks. So they theoretically could move up, try to get around that top 10 and steal a guy like, I don't know if Lamar Jackson fits in necessarily what the Patriots are trying to do. But when we had Mark Schofield on the show, who's a great quarterback analyst, or I guess analyzer as
and our lawyer,
and the show's personal lawyer, but a big Patriots fan, and he talked about how intriguing it would be for the Patriots to have a guy like Jackson fall into their laps, a guy like Josh Allen. New England would be the perfect situation for Josh Allen. If Allen is going to become anything, it would be in a place like New England where he has the opportunity to learn from Tom Brady, to be under Bill Belichick's system. There's not many quarterbacks. I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback that I can recall, please correct me if I'm wrong, that has been bad under Belichick. I mean, just think about it. I know there hasn't been too many opportunities. But think about when Hoyer's there for sure. But Hoyer's best games have been in there. But I'm just saying, But I'm just saying, Tom Brady, Matt Castle, Jacoby Brissett, Jimmy Garoppolo, and some of that is due to drafting. I mean, Brissett played pretty solid for the Colts last year. Garoppolo is obviously a top young quarterback if he continues to play like he did last year. But anyways, I'm saying if Allen goes to New England, he has a chance to succeed. But yeah, I just hope they don't get Rosen, they don't get Mayfield, they won't get Darnold. Just get a guy like Mike White or something. Just work with him. Honestly, I just hate that feeling of knowing that the Jets could let, Josh Rosen slip by, or even Baker Mayfield slip by, and then the Patriots, move up to 8th and grab him.
Basically, that's what you're saying.
I guess so. Anyways, all right, let's get into these callers. We've got quite a few on the line. We want to get everybody their opportunity to share their thoughts, ask some questions. So we're going to start with a new caller, or at least new to our system, 570. You are on the line. How are you doing? What's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, my name is Rich. I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
All right. Is that
Scranton?
Scranton? Yeah. Oh, wow, you messed it up. But are you talking about, is that Scranton, Pennsylvania, Dunder Mifflin, The Office type of area?
Yes, that's it.
All right.
It's actually like maybe half a mile from my house, actually, the paper building that they use for the TV show, the picture of it anyway.
Wow. Okay. Well, then.
And my dentist office was in their office when I was a kid, that same building.
That's crazy. All right. Well, then, there we go. We have a caller from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I could not be more excited about this. Yeah, all right. Well, I'm a big fan of The Office. I'm watching it for like the 4th time now.
Do you need new underwear, Ben?
Yes, I actually do, Kyle. Anyways, let's get into some Jets draft talk.
The happiness.
Okay, Kyle, please, for the love of God, stop trying to derail the show. Let's talk some Jets draft. First, I guess, what are your expectations? 8 days away, man. Who do you think it's going to be for the quarterbacks? Is there a particular guy you like above the rest? Is there a guy you don't want? Just your overall thoughts on this upcoming draft in 8 days.
Yeah, but my thing is right now, I'm an A&M fan. That's crazy from here. I like Texas A&M. I watched Rosen the first game, and he just looked spectacular. His skill set is incredible. Then the health came up later. Then there's attitude talking about that. But if they could get by that, I mean, he's the best pure quarterback I've seen in college in a long time. Then I watch Baker Mayfield, and what comes to mind for me is Drew Brees. So that's how me and my buddies are sitting there talking about it, because we've got a lot of Jet fans here. I mean, if Baker Mayfield is the next Drew Brees, I mean, I know it's a crapshoot, but just the thought of it, that's why we like him, because he has a lot of he has a great character, and he's just a phenomenal football player on the field. If he could just translate that over to the NFL, I mean, that's a win-win for the Jets. And Rosen part there just has us nervous about more or less the health than more the attitude. But what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's really going to come down to Rosen versus Mayfield, and I think the Jets fan base is split. We ran a poll over the weekend at Mayfield. I think we had about 400 votes, so a smaller sample size. I think Mayfield had all right, Kyle. I think Mayfield had more of the votes. He edged out Rosen. We put up Mayfield, Rosen, and Allen as probably the most likely candidates to be available when the Jets pick. And Mayfield, I believe, had 55% of the votes. I think Rosen had 40 and Allen had 5 or something like that, if I did my math right. Yes, I did. So I think there's a large percent of Jets fans who would prefer Mayfield over Rosen. I still have Rosen as my 1A and Mayfield as my 1B, but there's no possible. Yeah, exactly. There's no possible scenario if the Jets take either Rosen or Mayfield that I'll be upset. I think both are going to be good quarterbacks in the draft or in the NFL, and I think both fit very well with what the Jets are trying to do. Kyle, do you have any thoughts?
I was running on Twitter. I'm going to be honest.
All right.
I got one thing to say to you, too, before I go. Just if you guys didn't know if it matters. But because I heard it on the radio the other day about McCaffrey being drafted last year and Barkley, and, Barkley should go higher. But the funny thing is, I don't know if people realize, they're actually from both the same town. Actually, Christian wasn't born there, but his father was and his uncle. And I didn't play, my high school did, against Ed's brother, which they were both incredible athletes in basketball in high school. But it's just funny, 2 great running backs drafted in the first round.
Yeah,
1 year to the next, and both from Allentown.
That's crazy, and it's also like if the Giants were to take Barkley, Gettleman will have picked both of them. And let's just hope they take Barkley. So then we get a pick of the litter.
Darnold.
Yeah, last question for you, man. I think a large part of what we talked about with Joe was kind of how do you divvy up these reps for your rookie quarterback, whether it's Rosen or Mayfield, choose whoever you like more, I guess. Over under 5 games started for Josh McCown, and then for Teddy Bridgewater. Just kind of how many games do you see this rookie playing? I mean, I know Todd Bowles in the past is kind of always leaned towards starting the veteran, but then you think about it. I mean, what talented young quarterback has he had on the bench? I mean, I guess the veteran's always been the better option, and he even showed last year he wanted to start Christian Hackenberg and started him in back-to-back preseason games. I kind of wanted to get your overall thoughts on who you think will be the Jets starting quarterback for the majority of the season. But we'll start over under 5 games started for Josh McCown.
Under.
And then for Teddy Bridgewater?
Under.
So how many games are you saying the rookie quarterback will start?
I think he's going to be in quicker than you think. I know nobody likes Hackenberg, but I have a little more hope than most. The reason why I say that, because of Bridgewater's knee. And for the $500,000, because I'm just thinking he had a lot of talent, and if Minnesota had any inkling that he was going to be able to play, they would have kept him. And I just don't think Bridgewater is going to handle the preseason, especially with that leg, because nobody even hit him. I just have a feeling, and McCown is a great quarterback for a person. I think he's more going to be there for the teacher, and I just see the rookie starting sooner than what people think. Whatever rookie we get, I think he's going to be in there by week 5, actually maybe week 3.
I like it. Well, thank you so much, man, for calling in. We always love new callers. We're sorry to keep you on for so short. We got so many on the line as we're getting closer and closer to draft night. But we always, I got to be honest, I'm ecstatic to have a caller from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Do you have any social media or Twitter where Jets fans can give you a follow?
Yes, I just followed you guys. My name on there, it's Richard Matthews. You see the tweet about McCaffrey and asking you guys about Baker Mayfield. So if you look on there, and I'm going to follow you guys and listen to you guys' show more often. So if you have a guy from Scranton, call him more often for you guys.
well, thank you so much, Richard.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. If you have any connections to Michael Scott, Kyle and I would both like to submit our applications.
Or Minnie Taylor.
No, I don't. And honestly, I never really watched that show. But actually, here's another thing: the priest from The Exorcist is from here.
How can you not have watched the show from your? I mean, that's got to be Scranton's claim to fame. I mean,
no, actually, Jason Miller, for an actor, is the claim to fame. If you ever watched The Exorcist, the priest.
No, I have not. I think Kyle. How about you?
It's a famous. It's the scariest movie of all time.
That is so obscure. You're just avoiding one of the most popular shows of all time. And I'm sure the guy's a great actor, but for The Exorcist priest, I mean, he had a huge role. Is religion big over there?
Oh, I mean, yeah, his son is Jason Patrick. He's the one that was for the Lost Boys. So that's probably the claim of fame for acting here.
Huh. All right. Well, Rich, thank you so much for calling in. Let's hope the Jets don't mess us up next week. I advise you to maybe dip your toe in the water and watch a few episodes of The Office. It's terrific.
I'll do it. I'll do it for you guys.
Well, next time you call and let us know what you think. But hopefully we hear from you soon, and we'll make sure to tweet out your information so our listeners can give you a follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it, guys. Hey, guys, have a good night, and go Jets.
Hey, you too, man.
Go Jets. All right. I love the enthusiasm.
I love it. I mean, that was a top caller right there. But how can you be from Scranton, Pennsylvania?
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. I've heard a lot of weird things and obscure things. Claiming the priest from The Exorcist is the claim to fame to Scranton, Pennsylvania is just wrong.
I don't know. Well, Rich was a super nice guy, big Jets fan, and
really nice guy.
Loved the call. But I mean, come on, got to get with the program, got to watch The Office. Come on.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go to our next caller, 917, another new caller. 917, you are on the line. What's your name and where are you from? 917, are you there?
And they're dead. On for 47 minutes just to give us dead radio silence. Ben, let's just scream.
No, there is something. Oh, and then
I hear it. Oh, they left.
I think 917 was just trying to listen to the show. That might have been what that was. Okay.
We caught him off guard.
Okay, so we have a few. This is going to be confusing. We're going to go to 631. You are on the line. 631,
hello.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, hello.
I'm actually on there twice because I tried calling in from the computer and it's not coming through my speakers.
Oh, okay, so would you prefer this line or the other one?
No, this one's fine because I can't hear you through my computer.
Okay.
Well, that's probably for the best.
Well, I believe this is Michael. I don't want to mess up the last name. How do you pronounce it? Palace or?
It's pronounced Palace, like the building.
All right. Oh yeah. All right, Michael Palace.
That makes sense.
Well, it's good to have you on the show, man. I got to be honest. As a show, we mentioned that to Joe. As a show built around hot takes, Michael, you have some of the hottest takes on Twitter. Now, I don't necessarily agree with all of them, but I will give you props. You go against the grain on quite a few things. So I'm actually glad you called in because I wanted to pick your brain on a few things. We'll start with obviously the draft. I know you're a big Sam Darnold fan and you're really hoping he falls. So I guess I'll open it up. Yeah, the NFL draft quarterbacks. Sam Darnold, is that your guy? How are you feeling? If he goes number one to the Browns, who's your guy? Just your overall thoughts.
Well, actually, I have another hot take on that.
All right.
I've actually changed my mind about Baker Mayfield, and I wouldn't mind the Jets taking him. I still have Darnold ahead of Mayfield in my rankings, but I don't have Darnold going to the Browns at number one, nor do I have Allen going to the Browns at number one. I have the New England Patriots trading up to number one, Darnold.
God. I'm going to kill myself.
Wow. I'm telling you, Michael, for better or for worse, there are some hot takes. So what type of package do you think that's going to cost New England to move up all the way to...
Got to be at least a 12-inch, right?
Okay.
All four of their first four picks. Because they have 2 first rounds and 2 second rounders.
Yeah,
so,
I mean...
their first 4 picks at the minimum.
That would get the job done, probably.
they need somebody to replace Tom Brady, and
Bill Belichick.
Mason Rudolph is not good. It won't be good enough, and Lamar Jackson might be good enough, but do they really want to take that risk? So they're going to try to move up to number 1 because the Browns want Allen anyway, and he'll be on the board at number 4, and the running back class is good enough where they can get a good running back later in the first round. So.
Yeah, Michael, I agree with you on, and this is how I find most of our, because we've gone back and forth on a few Twitter debates. I agree with you on that. I do think that it's a real possibility the Patriots are going to try to trade up. I don't think they're going to go all the way up to number 1. I think that's just not a Bill Belichick move. But I agree that I think they're going to try to move into the top 10 or just right around there. I could see Josh Rosen sliding. I could see Josh Allen sliding. I think it's pretty likely Lamar Jackson's at least going to be there. But where they're picking right now, you might not be able to say all those things. I think Lamar Jackson's going to go somewhere in the teens, and right now they'd be looking on the outside, or they'd be on the outside looking in. So I don't think they'll move all the way up to number 1. I like the boldness, but I don't necessarily think that's what will happen. Now, Michael, the other hot take, and this was probably your hottest take, when the trade up officially happened, I believe, and I don't want to mess this up, but I believe you said you had the Jets taking Saquon Barkley and then starting Christian Hackenberg, which honestly would have, if Kyle and I were to say that on the show, I think our mics would have exploded. It would have been such a hot take.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had the Jets taking Saquon Barkley.
So, all right, I might have messed it up.
Ben.
But you were a Christian.
Come on, Ben. Come on,
Hold
Ben.
on. All right. I apologize, but you were touting Christian Hackenberg as a guy who could come back and play, correct?
I did have the Jets potentially going with Hackenberg in 2018. But I think they're cutting Petty and Hackenberg before training camp.
All right. Well, that sounds pretty agreeable, Kyle. Good. Yeah, this is good. I'm swearing about the name searches because I remember reading that and being like,
Ben's about to get the receipts.
I'm getting those receipts. Anyways, Michael, a few more questions for you. I guess we kind of started zeroing in on the draft, but I believe you write for Fanside. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, NFLSpinZone.com.
Nice. So I guess we'll zoom out a bit on the overall Jets offseason so far. Do you have a favorite move so far and a least favorite move? Doesn't necessarily have to be a free agent signing or anything like that, but just a favorite move, and it could be a free agent signing. Your favorite move that Mike McCagnon has made, and your least favorite move that he's made or not made.
Well, I have a few favorites. I don't really have one that I didn't like, but of course, releasing Muhammad Wilkerson was good, and I liked Terrell Pryor because I think he has an opportunity, even though a lot of people don't see it this way, as being the number 1 guy when not if, but when Anderson is suspended.
Yeah. You have some hot takes on Anderson, right? Is that you?
What? Well, I thought they were going to cut him, but they're not. They're obviously not going to do it because they haven't done it by now.
I think I cursed you out on Twitter. I'm going to be honest.
I don't know if it's out by a lot of people, so it doesn't matter.
I think I'm starting to recall with like an article, and I just completely disagreed, and he caught me on a bad day. So
every day is a bad day.
It is.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you curse me out or not, as long as you don't curse out in the air.
Well, shit. I mean, I don't really know how much we abide that.
By the way, you asked the question about the rookie starting quarterback, about how many games they're going to play.
All right, Michael, fire away.
You want another one? Another hot take? It's not that hot, but it's mildly hot.
Lukewarm, right? All 16. I like it. Michael, I got to be honest. On Twitter, I've been saying, I don't really agree with a lot of these takes, but right now, I mean, it's lukewarm, but I'm liking it. It's agreeable. I think 16 actually is not something that everybody agrees with, but I think, if the pick is Rosen, I think he starts all 16, barring injury.
I think they may or may not, depend. They might decide to take the rookie out if he struggles, but they might decide so to not burn his confidence and then continue to start him anyway. But
yeah, I mean, I'm of the mindset that if you invest, especially a top pick, it's different when you have Geno Smith, who was a second-round pick, or even Bryce Petty or whatnot. If you take a guy with a third overall pick, I think you just ride him out for the season, even if unless he's playing historically bad.
Just finish him off. Yeah.
But no, not like that. But I mean, like, if you're picking a guy third overall, he can't be. I don't want to jinx it, but he can't be horrible. And
it's the Leonard Williams effect. Here we go.
I don't want to jinx it, but I'm just saying there is the percentage of quarterbacks taken in the top 3. The success rate for them is much higher than the rest of the draft. So if the Jets play their cards right, unless they draft a guy like Allen or a guy like Mayfield really messes up or whatnot, the guy they take at the very worst, the floor, is an average quarterback. I think you would just ride that out. Michael, last question for you before we move on. Your prediction for draft night, a bold prediction. Who do you think the Jets are going to take at 3? I know you like your guy Sam Darnold. You've been chanting his name. Is that the guy you think falls? Do you think he doesn't fall? But outside of the New England Patriots trading up and whatnot, your bold prediction, who do you think the Jets are going to take?
Well, I'll give you who I think the Jets are going to pick at 3, and who's going to be their best non-quarterback pick. Because the number 3 pick is definitely going to be a quarterback, and it's going to be Baker Mayfield.
I like it. All right, best non-quarterback pick.
And their best non-quarterback pick isn't going to be the pass rusher they take at number 3.
Oh, no.
But it's going to be a guy they take in the 4th round. And everybody hates my pick in the 4th round.
I knew it. That was the cold take I couldn't. Okay, wait. Just please fire it off.
Everybody hates my pick in the 4th round because he's a fullback.
That wasn't even. No, you had a punter going in the 2nd round. That's what it was.
No. I had a punter going in the 3rd round when they still had 2 second-round picks.
No, it was their 2nd pick. I remember being.
No. I never had a punter going in the 2nd.
All right, I'll take your word for it. But I do remember the Jets. The Jets taking a punt. That's what it was. I knew there was one
in the 3rd
glaring.
round. I had Michael Dixon going in the 3rd round.
Yes, that's what it was. Okay, there we go. Yeah, the Jets taking a punter. I just remember that was the argument. I couldn't remember what was the cold take. I was like, maybe it was the Hackenberg stuff. No, it was you had the Jets taking a punter, then you had the Jets taking a fullback in the 5th, and then you had the Jets taking J.T. Barrett and converting him to a power running back. That's what it was. Michael.
That was you that argued with me about that?
About we went back and forth. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Well,
Michael, wait. I don't think I cursed you out for that on Twitter, but why? Why the punter?
And why J.T. Barrett?
No.
Well, I was looking for balance in the backfield, and I figured J.T. Barrett could be used as a running back sometimes, and as a wildcat / runner in the quarter as a quarterback.
Well, why not a guy like Roy Freeman? If you're gonna. Yeah, J.T. Barrett's probably going to go undrafted or 6th or 7th round.
Freeman wouldn't have lasted to round 7. And I had other positions of need ahead of J.T. Barrett.
Huh. Well, anyways, Michael, good to have you on the show. I'm bummed we can't talk longer and dissect some of these.
You got to call back next week.
We got to get Michael. We got to get you back on the line, especially after this Jets take, and I want to get.
See what you did there.
All right, before I go, though, round 4, Dimitri Flowers, fullback, Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah. Baker Mayfield's favorite.
So you doubled down on the...
Well, the only reason I have him as high as I do is because he can catch the ball, run the ball, and play 5 different positions.
I mean, you could double down and take Mark Andrews, the tight end, in the 3rd round, and really just have the Oklahoma Sooners offense to surround Baker Mayfield with, I guess.
Michael, they have to take a pass rusher in the 3rd round.
I mean, yeah, I agree. And the thing that we haven't talked about is that we'll talk about later on the show is last year. I don't know if Jets fans remember that much because it was kind of on day 2 and day 3. But Mike McCagnon was trading down like it was nobody's business. I'm telling you, I think with the lack of picks the Jets have this year, I don't know if the Jets are even going to pick in their spot they're selected to in the 3rd round, let alone the 4th round. I think you're going to see a lot of Mike McCagnon move backs to try to acquire more lottery tickets per se. But Michael, great to have you on the show, man. Shout out your Twitter and where our listeners can follow you and read your work.
All right, at MPALLASNY Sports and NFLSpinZone.com.
All right, Michael, thank you for calling in, man. We got to hear from you soon in the upcoming future, all right?
Yeah, I'll call back next week.
All right. Thanks for calling in, man. All right, that was Michael Pallas.
Wow.
Well, I recognize the name, and I was like, what was the take that I couldn't get over? And I just let it slide, but I know it was when the Jets didn't have a second-round pick. Because I remember being like, this is the Jets' second pick, and they use a punter. I'll get these receipts. He might be right. I mean, he wrote the article, so he's probably right here. But I just remember being like, we're going to go punter, fullback, and then JT Barrett's the running back. I remember just being, what? But, hey, Michael's a nice guy. He didn't –
I wonder if Manish Mehta's like that. Like, completely, like, abstinent on the internet, and then...
No, Michael's, that was really the only glaring one, because Robbie Anderson isn't a complete... I understand why some people would want Robbie to get caught. I don't agree with it, but I can understand it. That was the only one I just was like, what? Maybe that and the Christian Hackenberg one. Anyways, let's get to our next caller.
Still.
Yeah, we have a few more on the line. We're going to go to...
Scott, you're last, FYI.
Yeah, Scott's the closer. Mariano
Yeah.
Rivera.
Nope.
We're going to go to...
more like Aroldis Chapman in Hawaii.
Wow. All right, we're going to go to 704. 704, you are on the line. Oh, no, this is my... all right, sorry. We didn't have him in our system. This is Michael Nania, writer for GangreneNation.com, and also for Turn on the Jets, and my Fortnite duo partner, slash Kyle Fahey's replacement. Michael, how you doing, man?
You know his number by heart.
What's up, guys?
No, he texted me. I asked him which number he was. Michael, glad to have you on the show. Officially talking Jets. We're not playing Fortnite right now, but we can try to act professional. Kyle, didn't you get smoked by Greg in 2K?
I did get smoked in the first game. The second game was a lot closer. He beat me, but first game was just really bad. It was bad. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I played horrible.
All right, well, Michael, Kyle is trash and plays Xbox, and he just got it. So we're classic PS4
I've had
user.
it for like 2 years, so.
You got it like this Chris. Okay, anyways,
that was
Michael.
Christmas open.
Jeez, I've known you for that long.
Ben, we've known each other for like 3.5 years.
I'm wasting my life away.
I know.
Michael, okay, let's talk some Jets football. Really quickly, let's go back. Let's go back in time to March. Jets free agency. Old news, I know, but we had you on the show, I believe, right before free agency opened. So we were talking about Kirk Cousins and all that stuff. So I want to backtrack a bit. I know it's about a month old, but I want to get your thoughts. Your favorite move, your least favorite move of Mike McCagren's free agency so far.
I think for free agency, one of my favorite moves was a move that I didn't really think much of at first, and that's Avery Williamson. I honestly didn't even know who he was before they signed him, but after they did sign him, I looked at him some more, watched some of his film, looked at his numbers, and I think he's like a more athletic Demario Davis, and a younger one. So I think that that's a sign that I've come to like a lot more than I thought I would. So I think Williamson would be one of my favorite moves, and Teddy Bridgewater is a move I like, and obviously, best case, we hope that whoever the Jets draft at number 3 next week turns out to be the long-term option. But Bridgewater was the fallback plan I kind of wanted them to go after if they didn't get Cousins. And just because he's a young guy with some upside over someone else who's just a stopgap. So I think Bridgewater and Williamson would probably be my 2 favorite moves for free agency. And worst moves, I think the Crowell sign, I think he's a decent player, but I really love this running back class, and I wrote an article on Turn on the Jets, and Joe talks about it a lot too, that mid-round running backs have just been such a huge gold mine for success recently, so I would have really liked them to take a running back in the middle rounds, but with signing Crowell and also Thomas Rawls, it doesn't really seem like they're going to do that now, so that'd probably be my least favorite, but I do think Crowell's a decent guy, and he's still pretty young. So I think that would really be my least favorite, but there's nothing that really sticks out as terrible to me.
Yeah, and, I think the running back position is kind of a microcosm of what McKagan has done this offseason. And look, he traded away 2 picks and then I guess a pick next year. So he passes up on a few potential starters. I mean, 2 second-round picks, those are 2 starters right now. So he's forced to find guys in free agency to fill that depth. And I understand. I mean, look, I think this year's running back class in particular was pretty amazing. And, I love guys like Rashad Penny. And if he's there in the 4th, I have a hard time turning it down, especially if you get your pass rusher in the 3rd, because that kind of frees you up. Like, okay, you can still cut Thomas Rawls. You can trade Bilal Powell, try to pick up a 6 or something. But I think the running back position is kind of an example of that. But you look across the board, inside linebacker, he's just patched. He's put, Kevin Minter, Kevin Pierre-Louis, Brandon Copeland, etc. He's just trying to, fill some of these depth, holes with free agents so he doesn't have to use draft picks on some of those positions. He's going to focus entirely on needs. Quarterback, pass rusher, cornerback, tight end, just stuff like that. Michael, moving forward, let's talk a little bit about the offensive line because that's something the Jets fans really haven't talked about in a while. Obviously, Nick Mangold retired this week. Doesn't really affect what the Jets are doing, but he is arguably the greatest center in team history. Maybe you could argue Kevin Mawai, but I'm going to go Mangold. Jets right now,
both Hall of Famers, though.
So. Yeah, both Hall of Famers. Jets starting center right now, Spencer Long. I'm not sure he's going to live up to Mangold's expectations, but he certainly should surpass Wesley Johnson's performance from last year. You've done some breakdowns on the offensive line before, specifically of Long. You post great film breakdowns on Twitter and stuff. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the Jets' offensive line. They switched schemes, they're now going to go to Rick Dennison's zone blocking scheme. How worried are you about this Jets' offensive line? Fairly thin, pretty average at best. And obviously, when you're sticking a rookie quarterback behind there, especially if it's a guy like Josh Rosen who has some injury concerns, it can be scary. Just your thoughts on the O-line.
I do like at least that they recognize that Wesley Johnson was, I'm just going to put it straight, he was a bum last year, just have to put it like that. So I like that they acknowledge that, and they went out and they paid Spencer Long, he's a decent guy. I preferred Weston Richburg or Ryan Jensen, but Jensen's definitely, Spencer Long's definitely a big upgrade over Wesley Johnson. So I think that, honestly, he's probably, maybe Kelvin Beachum hasn't beat, but Long's probably the best player in that line now. So I think it's definitely worrying, the fact that this line was pretty bad last year, and they only made 1 upgrade to this point. So that's kind of worrying, but you do have Brian Winters, who was dealing with injuries last year, and Brandon Shell is his first season as a starter. So I think the biggest hope for them to improve would be Spencer Long, that upgrade having a domino effect on the rest of the line, and Brian Winters bouncing back from injury, and Shell kind of improving his overall game. Because I think as a pass protector, Shell was pretty decent last year, but it's more in the run game where he struggles, and that's pretty much for the entire line. I think you look at Beachum and Shell, I think did decent in pass protection, but it's more in the run game where they didn't really get things going. But my biggest question mark is with James Carpenter. Like you mentioned, they're going to more of a zone kind of scheme, and as we know, James Carpenter, that's not really his strong suit. He's more of a power guy, and that's why he kind of got better after the Jets signed him compared to when he's in Seattle. So that's my biggest question mark for the 5 guys they figure to put out there now. But, I think with the upgrade with Long over Wesley Johnson, that definitely could have a really positive effect towards bringing them towards an average level. But definitely, you look at the last few rounds, hopefully they add at least 1, maybe 2 linemen in the late rounds.
Yeah, and Michael, we've talked earlier in the show about Kyle being biased towards players we've had in the show. You might now have some potential bias towards Spencer Long. I believe he followed you today on Twitter, right?
He did, yeah. He retweeted this one good clip I put out of him, so apparently he wants to see more of that. So yeah. I'm gonna have to be a huge Spencer Long fan.
Yeah, I might have to buy a jersey or something. Now, Michael, not Michael. Yeah, Mike. Sorry, we've had back-to-back Michaels today, and we've had Ricks and Richards, and it's really thrown me off. But yeah, Michael. Sorry. Sometimes I'm used to calling you DJ Mike City because you got that PSN. Michael, switching on the other side of the trenches, both pretty big news. You talked about the offensive line, the defensive line. Leonard Williams kind of looking to break out this season, hasn't really had the opportunity due to the lack of pass rush from the outside linebackers. Steve McClendon, he's old, 31, 32, but he's a very solid nose tackle. And then besides that, a lot of question marks. Can a guy like Deion Simon step up? Are guys like Mike Pennell and Xavier Cooper going to step up? Is there going to be a draft pick or undrafted free agents that come in and plug some holes? How worried are you for the Jets' defensive line? Obviously, a lot of it goes back to the pass rushers, but that defensive line, the Jets' hallmark of their defense really for the past, 7 years has been their strong defensive line. They've always been consistently good on the D-line. How worried are you for that position group?
I don't think I'm too worried about it in terms of them struggling, but I don't think that, if you have Pennell and McClendon as two of your starters, I don't think they have as much dominant potential as they did with, the Sons of Anarchy when they had Snacks and Sheldon Richardson. I don't think there's that kind of dominant potential, but McClendon is so underrated. I think he just continuously done his job so well, and I think Pennell, too, flew under the radar last year. I think if you put Pennell at nose tackle and McClendon and Williams beside him, and I know McClendon is known as a nose tackle, but especially towards the end of the season when they kind of shifted Mo Wilkerson out, he played some kind of Dree Tech outside, kind of the same role as Leonard Williams, and he did pretty well with that. So I do question if Pennell with a higher snap count can keep being as good of a run stuffer, and if McClendon can hold up with his age in a different role. But I think with those three guys as your primary defensive lineman up front, I think that could still be an above-average run-stopping unit and a decent pass-rushing front.
Yeah, I happen to agree with you. I think, that's going to be a big question mark. A lot of Jets fans are kind of overlooking those two position groups, in favor of, let's talk about the quarterbacks, let's talk about the, Tremaine Johnson and the pass rushers. It starts in the trenches and it ends there as well. So we'll see how the Jets can perform. I think a lot of it's going to come down to two things. Injuries, can the Jets' offensive line stay healthy? And two, you're going to need some surprises. You're going to need some young guys to step up and fill the void. Xavier Cooper last year kind of played well towards the end of the year. Coney Ely, who's not coming back once the Cowboys, played really well towards the beginning of the year, but you're going to need more players like that, and hopefully you can stumble upon your next, Snacks Harrison, not necessarily a nose tackle, but maybe at defensive end. You just need to hope you can find a guy who just comes out of nowhere. And I don't mean to say anything, but defensive line is probably the position you can find somebody like that. Rather as opposed to quarterback or offensive line or skill positions, it's probably running back and defensive line are the two most likely positions you can find an undrafted guy who can become a stud. Michael, last question for you. Let's talk about the Jets' skill positions. You're going to bring a rookie quarterback in. We already talked about the O-line. We've talked about the defense, but really what it comes down to is who is this quarterback going to be surrounded by? How comfortable are you? Similar question. How comfortable you are in these Jets weapons? Obviously, they have the top four wide receivers. Anun was returning, who had a breakout 2016 campaign and then had a severe neck injury and was out all of 2017, but he returns. You have Robbie Anderson, who was an explosive receiver last year but has some legal issues. He probably will be out for 2 to 4 games due to a suspension. You have Jermaine Kearse, who's just your slot receiver, your safe hands. I think he's really going to become a kind of a safety blanket for whoever our quarterback is. You have Terrell Pryor, who we're not really sure what he is, but if he can return kind of what he was in 2016, much like Anunwa, you're getting a big-bodied receiver who can do some work in the red zone. As far as running backs go, you have Bilal Powell, Elijah McGuire, Thomas Rawls, Isaiah Crowell. It's obvious it's going to be a running back by committee approach. And as you mentioned, maybe the Jets will listen to you and take a flyer on a mid-round running back. And then at tight end, you have guys like Clive Walford, Jordan Leggett, and Bucky Hodges. Sorry, I spaced there for a second. Bucky Hodges, among others. The Jets brought in quite a few tight ends to try to compete and find who's the best. Eric Tomlinson was the other guy. Eric Tomlinson and Neil Sterling as well. So 5 tight ends there. You're going to probably battle out for 3 spots. Just, Michael, that was a pretty big overview, and there's even some receivers I left off. But how comfortable are you in the weapons that we're going to be providing to this rookie quarterback? Obviously, once you get your rookie quarterback in place, it's kind of when you start to build around him. So not everything's going to be set. But, you are expected to have some guys you can go to. What's your comfort level on those guys?
I think I'm pretty fine with the receivers right now. If Quincy Moonrock can be who he was in 2016, and Robbie Anderson stays on the field and keeps progressing like he did last year. And you have Kurt, and that's your top three. I think that's really solid. That's definitely above average to me. So I'm not too worried about the receivers. And then you throw Pryor in there, who, like you said, if he can get back to 2016, that's just another weapon. And you still have Hanson and Stewart. You don't know if they could be something. So I'm pretty comfortable with receiver, but I think tight end's kind of a question mark because that's your position that can be kind of like a safety blanket, a short security kind of throw, like Farian Jenkins kind of was last year. Not that he was great. We know about his efficiency, but just having a big target to check it down to can be good for a young quarterback. So I think that maybe with the way that they've approached it, kind of not splashing with the big free agent, and obviously they won't be able to make a premium pick at the position, maybe they're going to kind of rely on it less like we saw in the past, but it could also mean that they're just high on maybe Jordan Leggett, who I definitely like. I thought he was a great value pick where they got him previously. So I think Leggett could definitely be a factor. I like him. And some other guys they brought in, like Hodges, Clive Walford, a lot of guys with really good physical tools to just kind of have them put it together. So maybe they're just higher on those guys than most people on the outside are. Maybe they're going to devalue the position. But I think tight end is a position that it's kind of a question mark. Hopefully someone emerges, but maybe they're just not going to look at it as much. But for running back, I think Powell is still probably their best player if he's fixed. He's just been so efficient when he's been out there, and you question how much he has left in the tank as he gets into his 30s, but I think that they have a really good collection. Like you said, they're going to probably go to another committee approach, and I think you look at Powell's aggressive running style, Coel's big play ability, McGuire's receiving skills. I think you have a really good all-around skill set there. So altogether, I think that if you put running back, receivers, and tight end together, it's kind of an average overall group, but there is a lot of youth in there, so it has potential. So I'm overall pretty fine with skill position groups.
All right, well, Michael, thank you so much for calling in a bit last minute. Really quickly, just shout out your social media. You've grown tremendously over the past few weeks. You made a few pretty cool Photoshops for Jets fans. You had Baker Mayfield planting the flag. I don't know if you ever posted the other one that we had talked about, which was pretty cool. You had Sam Darnold. And obviously Spencer Long's now following you, so shout out that. And then obviously you do a lot of great writing work for Gangrene Nation, and then now for Turn on the Jets. So just shout out where our listeners can find your work.
Yeah, definitely. On Twitter at Michael Nania, that's Michael_NANIA, and on Turn on the Jets and GangreneNation.com. Definitely doing plenty stuff on both those sites pretty much all the time, so definitely check me out there.
All right, well, Michael, thank you so much for calling in. Fortnite later, though? Yes, no?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We got to get win number 2. Like, we got our first win pretty quick. It's kind of like the Jets. Like, we came in, shocked everyone, but now we're having this huge trek towards the second one.
Yeah,
so we got to pick that one up.
We've had a grueling 50-year drought at this point. Michael and I had some fluke win, great upset. I got the final kill technically, and then ever since then we've really been struggling. But Michael, thank you so much for calling in. We'll hit you up later about that Fortnite game. We've got to see if we can finally capture that elusive second victory after we draft a new player to our squad. Definitely not Kyle though. Kyle's trash.
I don't play Fortnite.
All right, you're a loser. Anyways, Michael, thank you, man. Thank you, man, for calling in.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, we apologize for any hearing issues with Michael.
Yeah,
I know he had a mic issue. I texted him in the middle, but he didn't get it. But you could still understand. I know it's slightly annoying. You might have had to turn down your I
imagine that's how Dylan Donahue sounded during his.
No, I think what it was, he probably had headphones in. It was just rubbing against his shirt. And I texted him. He didn't see it, though. But anyways, Kyle. See, I'm already getting ready for the eventual replacement. Did you see that?
Yeah, I was really in fright of him coming and taking my spot, just shaking in my boots.
Don't get too cocky, Kyle. You'll be like Geno Smith, and I Can and Polly's gonna come out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's
make you look like the Teddy Graham. Anyways.
What?
You see that photo where he looked exactly like that? Oh, Honeygram? You know what I'm talking about? He looks like the chubby Okay, anyways, let's go. What?
Like the snack?
Yeah. There's a photo of Geno Smith. Okay, anyways. Only the real ones got that.
The only Geno Smith photo I acknowledge is his dick pic that got leaked.
Okay, all right. Let's just keep it moving.
Do you remember that? Remember that?
I never looked at it, so no.
Good for Geno.
Jesus Christ, what is the show? I don't even. All right, let's just.
2018, Ben.
732. You are on the line. Thank you so much for calling in. Please save me.
I hope this isn't a social worker or something.
732. You're a new caller. Just give us your name, where you're from. 732 has died.
Deado.
732. He might have muted it after.
You're assuming it's a he.
Could be a she.
Yeah.
We've had a roomie.
Yep.
732. You might be on mute, or you just dropped.
Drop it like it's hot. Okay, all right. Pimps from the crib.
Well, 732. Thank you for calling in, spending some time with the show. Unfortunately, we cannot hear you.
They're probably screaming at the top of their lungs.
DM us on Twitter. We'll look at it over the next 30 minutes.
Gone.
And he's gone. Again, I think that was another person trying to listen live. People, we have a link. I posted. The problem with the link is that the only way to listen to the show live, and most of our listens obviously come after the fact on the podcast app. If you're listening to this right now, you're probably listening to it after the fact. But we get a few listeners that try to listen to it live.
Inception. Wait. So they're in the future.
Okay,
but we're right.
Shut up.
Wait.
Shut it.
Tell us the lottery number.
Shut it.
Wait, if you're listening this far, if you're listening this far in the episode, tweet me Josh Allen sucks.
Dumb.
At Kyle Fay NFL.
Okay.
Anyway, that doesn't include you, Scott.
Let me just get Scott on here. Just please, for the love of God, Scott, save me.
Scott, come on.
Scott, please help me. Scott Mason from the Play Like a Jeff podcast has joined. Please help me.
So you called me Mariano Rivera. Kyle Fahey called me Aroldis Chapman in Hawaii. I don't really understand the reference.
You don't look.
But Aroldis Chapman. Oh, all right. Well, Aroldis Chapman throws 105 miles an hour, so I'll take it.
Okay, I regretted it the second I said it because it was a very bad comparison. It was just the first joke that came to my mind.
What did he do in Hawaii?
Unless I'm mixing him up with Jose Reyes.
You probably are.
I'm gonna look up Aroldis Chapman in Hawaii.
All right,
either way.
Fellas, Scott.
Oh yeah, it was in Hawaii. Show. Oh no.
So what's going on, boys? Yeah, it is a anxious time in Jetland, isn't it? I am on pins and needles. I feel like I've been like this ever since the Kirk Cousins decision came out. It's been nonstop. The good thing is, if you're like me and you're a draft junkie, at TOJ we have you covered from now until draft day and beyond, so it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to all the stuff we're going to be doing with you guys. Although, Ben, unfortunately, you've got, what is it, a Boy Scout retreat or something?
Boy Scout retreat. No. For my school as a senior, I was selected to lead a retreat for the juniors. You think I'm a Boy Scout? That's a compliment. The Boy Scouts teach a lot of really necessary traits, man. A lot of the best people I know were Boy Scouts. They're the kind of guys you want around to get out of a crisis.
You know who else was a Boy Scout?
Okay.
Who's that?
I don't know.
Ryan Leaf.
Okay. I don't even know if he was.
All right.
Anyway, okay, Jesus Christ, Kyle. Okay. Anyways. Yes. Thank you, Scott, for calling in. Yeah, and the bummer about it is my birthday is that Friday, so the draft's that Thursday.
Nobody cares.
Well, let's hope the Jets get you a birthday present in the form of a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, last year on my birthday, they drafted Jamal Adams, so I was very happy with that.
Okay.
And then this year, I'm just asking for Josh Rosen or Baker Mayfield, and you get either of those two, I'll be very happy.
Ben, what's your stipulation if you draft Josh Allen?
I don't even...
He's just going to be sad.
Yeah,
okay,
I won't.
I'll be dead, So, I mean, there's not a bit of a comparison there.
Here's what I'll say. I don't think the Jets are going to draft Josh Allen, so I don't want to. I'm still going to jinx this. Oh my God. I don't. Really
yeah, don't jinx it.
All right, I'm not going to jinx it. I'm not as after hearing what Bowles has said about what he looks for in quarterbacks. After reading some reports from Samini, who I trust, and even Rappaport and Schefter and stuff, and then when it comes to even what Christopher Johnson said about the pick, how confident he is that this pick is really going to energize the franchise. I don't really. I find it hard to believe that after picking Christian Hackenberg and all the things I just mentioned, that the Jets would pick a guy like Josh Allen, who's really going to go this high based off the type of quarterback he can be. But it's not the quarterback that he is right now. Because, I mean,
did you guys listen to Connor Rogers on Stick to Jets this week with Stick to the Jets with Sam Monson from PFF?
Ben, are we going to lie about this or what?
No, I'm not. I haven't. I've listened to Connor. I listened to Connor's 2 weeks ago. I haven't listened to this latest one though.
Yeah, no,
Okay, so along the lines of what you're saying, Sam Monson had a really funny line. He was talking about the quarterbacks, and PFF and Sam in particular have Baker Mayfield ahead of everybody by a significant margin.
Like a 94 point something, right?
Yeah, which actually, now to be fair, it's not that wide of a margin, but if you look at the analytics, our friend Jim Colburn has Baker as the number one guy, although he doesn't have a huge gap. But anyway, Monson had a funny line because he was talking about all the quarterbacks, and he said with Josh Allen, he's the IKEA quarterback because you buy him and all the quarterback parts are in the box, but you have to assemble it yourself and somebody burned the instruction manual.
I like it.
Which I think was very clever.
He's 100% correct. I mean, he's getting drafted because he's big, he's got big hands, and he can throw really far.
You know what else is done?
Okay, shut it, Kyle. Yeah. Jesus. Anyways, but it's like, and even if you watch his film, I mean, people get confused, and certain fans, I guess, get confused, and they watch his highlights, and they think they're watching tape, and they're like, well, this kid is a beast. He's going to be an absolute stud. If I were to just watch Josh Allen highlights, I mean, I think that kid would be amazing. I mean, he throws the ball 60 yards and it hits the guy. I mean, but people don't understand. He does that like twice a game, and the other 98% of his plays are absolute dog crap. So you can draft a guy based off his potential. I think that he's worth a shot for somebody, just not the Jets, and I don't think he should get drafted this high. But it's like, okay, this guy has the potential to be a really, really good quarterback, but he's not that quarterback right now, and it's a long shot that he's going to be that quarterback. How many times have we seen a quarterback fix his accuracy? I mean, like, I don't know.
And processing speed and ability to read defenses.
Exactly. How many times, I'll say this, how many times have we seen a quarterback who plays against crap competition in college, who plays poorly? It's not like he's dominating this crap competition, because that would be a different thing. You could still make he's always playing against bad teams, but if he's dominating, you at least can put up a fight. He's not dominating. He's not playing well against them. I mean, he's putting up some of the worst tape possible against some of the crappiest teams possible. I mean, he's facing guys who are going to be selling used cars in about 60 days. He's getting absolutely.
They're going to be selling Fahey a 10-year-old car when he's able to drive.
I've had a license for like 6 months.
Oh, have you? All right. Well, they grow up so fast. What can I say?
My point is
that was bad. Scott,
my point is that Josh Allen is getting drafted purely based off of potential. And I know I've made this analogy before on the show, and I'm pretty sure I messed it up. But I so don't want to say it without crediting who said it, because I can't remember who it was. So, anyways, the line that was it Darryl Slater who said this to us? I can't remember, but it was basically potential is, and we were using it talking about Christian Hackenberg. Potential, but I think it applies very well to Josh Allen. Potential is just it's like a giant pile of manure, and it's if you can find a way to mold it into you can have vegetables and fruit off this manure if you're able to. I'm not going to pretend I know how to garden, so I can't even think of the next step. Put seeds in water and photos.
You just want to give Fahey ammo to throw it, you don't?
Well, anyways, I'm just saying. And then there's a tree, and that tree gives food, and then you can eat whatever. But if you don't know how to do all that stuff, like I don't, then you're just sitting there with a big pile of shit, and that's what Josh Allen is right now.
Wow.
So
well,
I messed up the whole line, but it's still you still get the point that Josh Allen is not being drafted because he's a great quarterback right now, or even that he's shown stuff in college that he can. He has a few good plays and he has tremendous attributes, and people are going to try to morph that into him being a good quarterback.
Yeah.
He's not going to be a Jet. I don't believe it. Fingers crossed.
Ben, you know who else got a few good plays?
There's going to be some other joke nobody gets.
This is going to be a really bad joke, isn't it?
I can feel it. My spidey senses are tingling. Okay,
you ready?
Go.
Oh, is that what's tingling then? Obama.
All right. So anyway, back to Josh Allen. Basically, Ben, to add to your point.
Hold on, Scott. Let me text Michael. I'm going to buy Michael a mic so we can actually hear him next time. And then
it's not a bad idea. So anyway, with Allen, the thing with him is if you're drafting Allen, you're drafting him on his highlight tape, essentially. Because if you watch the rest of his film, look, he's a big guy with a big arm, and he's a terrific athlete for a guy his size. A guy his size should just not be able to do the things that he does. And it's funny, I've been going through and rewatching a ton of the film for these quarterback specials. I watched it already, but hey, by the way, some guy on Twitter was trolling me the other night, and he's like, "How do you know Josh Allen isn't good? No one's seen him play." I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, we've all watched film on him. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, well, film doesn't tell the whole story. I'm like, all right, this is the stupidest conversation of all time. But anyway, if you watch some of the plays he makes, the highlight reel plays that you were talking about, then, my girlfriend, who's at best a casual sports watcher, she saw him, and she goes, this is the guy you don't want them to have? This guy looks incredible. And then I said, all right, now watch this. And then I started showing her more and more, and she's like, oh, okay, I get it now. And I think that's what it is that most people that are really high on Allen fall into one of two camps, or one of three camps, I should say. They're either somebody that's only seen the highlights, there's somebody that has only read the Mel Kipers and the Todd McShays and people like that, or they are people like Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, or some of these old-timey scouts who think that they can take the highlight reel plays and make them the normal thing that Allen does consistently. And I will say this, from talking to Robert Gagliardi during the Josh Allen podcast that I did, he seems like his character's off the charts. He's a super hard worker. His teammates love him. The entire community showed up outside the stadium to basically show support for Josh Allen during his pro day, which to me is incredible. He's a guy that, he has a chip on his shoulder in the sense that, yeah, I know everybody thinks, well, he's a big guy, big arm, all that, but let's also remember he's a guy that got 0 scholarship offers coming out of college, and it took him several years at JUCO to even get to Wyoming, so he's got plenty of reason to have a chip on his shoulder too. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but look, when you can't process what you process so slowly, Mark Schofield had a great point about this, and it's true. If Kyle Lauletta and Josh Allen are throwing an out route, there's a decent chance that the ball will get there at the same time, even though Allen has a much bigger arm and throws with a lot more velocity. And the reason is because Kyle Lauletta can process quicker, he's got a quicker release, so on and so forth. So even though Allen has the physical tools, Lauletta's, I guess you would say, football intelligence kind of makes it so that they end up even in that regard. And I would take Lauletta over Allen at this point anyway, just because I think Lauletta has a much better understanding of how to play the quarterback position. But ultimately, when you draft Josh Allen, you understand that, like Sam Monson said, you're building this thing from scratch and you're doing it with no instruction manual, because how do you take a guy who can't process quickly or even moderately quickly, a guy who can't really make reads, a guy who airmails easy passes, how do you take that guy and turn him into a really good quarterback? I think I was talking to Kyle Smith and Joe Blewett the other day. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
I didn't hear what he said. Yeah, I don't know.
I've done
but that's Fahey the body bagger for you. What can I say? But the thing is, when you're, and I was talking to Joe Blewett and Kyle Smith about this the other day, what is the best case scenario for Allen? Because people will say, oh, maybe he turns into Roethlisberger or Cam Newton. I think maybe the closest comparison you could find, and I could see this a little bit, is maybe he could turn into Denver Jay Cutler. And I know people will go, oh, Denver Jay Cutler was pretty good. Now, was Denver Jay Cutler worth the number 3 pick in the draft? I mean, that's a debatable point. He was on his way up, and his last year in Denver, he played very, very well. And then the next thing you know, they ran him out of town and brought in Matt Castle. So we'll never really know because his career kind of went a little bit downwards in Chicago after that. But for me, that's the guy that if everything goes right, he's Denver Jay Cutler. And to me, if I'm picking a guy at number 3, and my belief is that if everything goes right, he's Denver Jay Cutler, that's a tough move to make. So I don't know, man. I think it's a bad bet at number 3. Now, on the other hand, if he slides down to a team like the Patriots or the Chargers or the Saints or somebody like that, I mean, maybe you take the risk. I probably wouldn't, but at least in that case, you're looking at a situation where you have a guy there who's going to give you at least another 2 to 3 years, more than likely, and so you could sit out. Because Allen's probably going to take, if we're being real, he's probably going to take 2 to 3 years at least. So you're going to need to do that, and the Jets don't have that.
Can I chime in here?
Yeah, go ahead. Of course. It is your show.
Yeah.
I agree with you that it's going to take 2 to 3 years. And we said the same thing about Christian Hackenberg. Well, he's going to take 2 to 3 years. Look how impatient Jets fans are with Christian Hackenberg, a second-round pick. If the Jets take Josh Allen, he needs 2 to 3 years. That's your first-round pick that you traded up for. And so if we're sitting here 2 years from now with the same thing as Christian Hackenberg, with the league mocking you as you haven't played the guy you traded up for, I just do not see how that works out in New York. So what would happen is that the Jets would have to force him in either his rookie year or sophomore year. He's going to suck, and then his career is going to go to crap. I agree. The only chance he has to survive is if he's given 2 or 3 years. And the only way that happens is he needs to be behind Brady. He needs to be behind Rivers.
Phillip Rivers, Roethlisberger.
He needs to be behind a top-level quarterback where they can phase him in. Because, I mean, you go to the Jets, I mean, even the Bills. I mean, like, the Bills won't give him enough time because A.J. McCarron, really? That's your bridge quarterback? I've seen A.J. McCarron play. You give him 6 games in Buffalo, and he's going to be, driven out of town.
The entire town. The entire town will be screaming.
Here we go.
Exactly. Tyrod Taylor was by no means an amazing quarterback, but he's at least average. A.J. McCarron is not anything close to Tyrod Taylor, at least at this point. Maybe he surprises me. But I'm just saying, I don't think he will. I'm just saying, for the Jets, for the Bills, for any of these top teams, Josh Allen makes 0 sense. Maybe I could see Denver, but Keenum, I guess, would be right at the line. He's right at the line. If you're getting Minnesota, Keenum, I can see them squeezing out a year or 2 without seeing Allen. But
I could almost see a scenario where, I mean, I'm not even saying he falls this far, but, theoretically, even a team like the Redskins wouldn't be the worst move because you figure Alex Smith is probably going to give you 2 to 3 years there at least. And not only that, but he's the kind of guy that actually would make sense for Allen to learn from because a lot of the stuff that Smith does well is the stuff that Allen needs to improve on. But even that, I don't know, man. It's just, like you said with Buffalo, man, forget it, because people don't understand. You could talk to Greg Armstrong about this, one of our guys at TOJ who lives upstate. When the Bills are playing, like, the stores are empty. Like, everybody's watching. That's like what they do up there. The Bills that's the end-all, be-all up in. Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. So when you have 6 games in and McCarron's playing terribly and we already know what you're going to get out of Nathan Peterman, these fans are going to be screaming for Allen, and there's no way he's going to be ready to play. I don't know if he's going to be ready to play after 16 games or – Oh, well, listen, I guess anything's possible, but I think we saw probably all we needed to see. Yeah, you never know. But I just, to me, like you were saying, Ben, there are 3 quarterbacks in this draft that realistically look like they could be long-term starters in the NFL. I think who you like best kind of comes down to what you prefer, because it's interesting. Sam Darnold, and again, I was talking to Joe Blewett about this, who's been starting to watch some of the film, and he was describing a play where Darnold, just the anticipation. See, this is the thing with Darnold. His anticipation and his processing and his reads and all that, he's on just such a high level, but the problem is, like, sometimes he gets a little too, how do I put this? He's a little too daring for his own good, which is why I think a lot of times people will compare him to Romo and Favre and guys like that, because sometimes he'll anticipate something and he'll anticipate wrong. But, man, there are times where he makes these anticipation throws, and because he has that arm and he has the ability to keep plays going, you could see where if he gets the right coaching, he could easily be the best quarterback of these 3, for sure. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. He's got the highest ceiling of the 3, I think. So, and then Mayfield and Rosen, we all know the whole situation with those 2. We've gone back and forth because I think we all assume the Jets are probably picking one of the 2 of them. Listen, who knows? I think with Mayfield and Rosen, it's more a matter of what flavor ice cream you like. You love ice cream, but do you like chocolate ice cream? Do you like vanilla ice cream, coffee ice cream, whatever it is, chocolate chip cookie dough? I think the way I look at it is, I think I told this to you, Ben, and Kyle, I think we talked about this as well. I see Rosen as like kind of, he looks to me a lot like Ole Miss Eli Manning, and I think that he's going to be somewhere between Eli Manning and Matt Ryan, which is very, very good. I just wonder, and Benjamin Albright, for all the crap that people give him, he did tweet out today something that I've been saying for a while, that he's talked to a bunch of teams that they have worries about Rosen, but one of them is that they think that he may have hit his ceiling, which, not that means it's bad necessarily, because that means he's already a very, very good quarterback, but there are teams that wonder if he's going to become better than he already is, or if he's kind of a finished product. And so then with Mayfield, maybe he's got the higher ceiling. I don't know. But as long as the Jets get one of those 3.
Wait, hold on. I just want to chime in there. I saw that tweet, and if you look at the replies, literally somebody just posted a screen grab of Peyton Manning's scouting report, and the glaring weakness was, he might have just already hit his ceiling, whereas Ryan Leaf, I'm not comparing Baker Mayfield to Ryan Leaf or to Josh Rosen to Peyton Manning, but whereas Ryan Leaf has a higher potential, he can grow more. Look, if Josh Rosen has hit his ceiling and he's going to play like he has in college, as he has in the NFL, if he's going to play in the NFL like he has in college, sign me up. Sign me up immediately.
No, I'm not saying.
I understand what you're saying. I see. Yeah. You're saying. Look, he's just going to come out and be kind of that mid-range average start. Like, you know what I mean? He's just going to.
Well, not average. I would say, but like, to me, if I'm saying that he's going to be somewhere between Eli Manning and Matt Ryan, that's a guy that's probably a top 10 to 12 quarterback. Listen, if you're a Jet fan or a fan of almost any team in the league, you'd sign up for that in a heartbeat. That's not a bad thing at all. If the Jets draft Josh Rosen and he turns out to be Matt Ryan, you'd be very happy with that. You'd be hard not to be. I'm just saying, I wonder if there are teams, and the Jets could be among them, we don't know, that believe that perhaps Mayfield and Darnold could be a cut above that. Like, instead of Matt Ryan, maybe they think that Darnold could be Ben Roethlisberger, or maybe they think that Mayfield could be Drew Brees. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think Rosen has the least bust potential, but I wonder if he's reached his ceiling. And again, not that, like, I understand what you're saying about Peyton Manning, but each guy is different. And there's always going to be different scouts and different front office guys that think different things. For me, the medical combined with the ceiling thing, I'd be happy if they got him, don't get me wrong, but it's weird because I feel like I'm picking on each of these guys, even though I'd be happy to have any of the 3, so it's kind of weird. But, yeah, I mean, I think as long as it's not Allen, we'll all be happy. We all have our preferences, obviously. I'll tell you, though, I think that – I was telling this story. One of the Eddie Radosevich, who I had on the and this will go right into Fahey's alley. This is right up his alley. Eddie Radosevich, who is he's driving the car. He's driving the car up the alley with this one. But Eddie Radosevich, who's a reporter out of Oklahoma, who I talked to for the Baker Mayfield podcast, he was telling me a story off the air. In fact, I wish I had included it in the podcast. But he was saying how during the Oklahoma Ohio State game, when Oklahoma famously came back, Mayfield kept kind of leaning over to the student section at Ohio State and saying stuff like, "You know it's coming, don't you?" And like then he would lean over and be like, "I hope you didn't bet on this game because I'm about to cost you a lot of money." Like that's the kind of stuff that, man, if he's the quarterback on your team, you just love that because it's like, I think Kyle Smith said it would be like having Jamal Adams on offense. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he's the kind of guy that could just rev up and that's one thing in a different way that I always said about Lamar Jackson. If, say, the Jets had stayed at 6 and didn't trade up and they didn't get one of the top 3, like Lamar Jackson in a different way is another electrifying player. And to get back to what you were saying, Ben, I don't think the Patriots are going to make some bold move. I think they may, if, like, say, Rosen or Allen, or if they like Allen, if one of those guys drops a good amount, maybe they make a move. But I could definitely see them picking Lamar Jackson or even moving up a little bit to take Lamar Jackson. There was some buzz that the Patriots like Lamar. So I don't know. I know Mark Schofield is all in on the possibility of the Patriots picking Jackson. So listen, wouldn't it be weird? Think about this. Wouldn't it be weird, guys, if, say, the Jets got, one of the 3 quarterbacks, whichever one, right? Then the Bills moved up to get one of the other ones. The Dolphins, there's talk of them trying to get a quarterback, and then the Patriots grab Lamar Jackson. You could have 4 new quarterbacks in the division. It'd be crazy.
Scott, I think you just read my mind because I had literally written down right here, like we were gonna do some bold predictions, and my prediction was gonna be that every single AFC East team will leave this draft, or will leave day 2 of the draft with a new quarterback. And I think for the Patriots, yeah, you're looking at a guy from Lamar Jackson to Kyle Aletta. I think for the Jets, I think you're seeing Rosen or Mayfield. For the Bills, I think you're seeing Allen or the guy who the Jets don't take. And then I think for the Dolphins, I think you're going to see a guy in day 2, maybe a guy like, Mason Rudolph falls or whatnot, or Kyle Aletta falls or something like that. I think all 4 AFC teams are going to have a quarterback from this draft class. And yeah, it'd be great to see, in 3 years from now, all of them starting and just to have kind of I guess we hope that the other 3 suck, but it'd be kind of fun to have 4 guys from the same draft class playing well against each other, except I don't really want that as a Jets fan. I'd rather have all of them just pick the crappy one.
Right.
The Jets walk away with the winner.
Well, let me ask you guys this question. I'm curious what you think about this because we've obviously had debates about it, and Joe Caporoso talked a little bit about it at the top of the show, and he published a piece about this. It seems like almost everybody, I mean, there's exceptions, but almost everybody is on this, the Jets are definitely picking Baker Mayfield thing, which makes me nervous because that's the guy, assuming Darnold goes 1 or 2, which I think is a pretty fair assumption, that's the guy I definitely would want, I would prefer. And it just seems so weird to me that the Jets would let that out there. Like, what would be the incentive for that? Like, I don't see what the benefit of putting that out there would be. I wonder if it's some sort of weird smoke screen. But then again, like with this team, you never know. Like, we had no idea that trade was coming. There were no reports that they were even working on it to go up to number 3. But at the same time, if you remember the week of the draft 2 years ago, we kept hearing constantly, boy, the Jets seem to really like Christian Hackenberg, and that ended up happening in the second round. So I don't know what to think here. What do you guys think? Do you guys think this is – because Klemko, I think Joe talked about this. Robert Klemko, who did all that series and obviously is in pretty well with Mayfield's camp, he said something like, I'm pretty confident Mayfield goes to the Jets for reasons I can explain after the draft.
Yeah, he said that he put money on Mayfield going for the Jets, and he can get into it after the draft. And yeah, I mean he's working on a film with Mayfield, right? Chronicling his
Right.
Yeah, and then the other guy, and I know Jets beat writers get a lot of hate, but Rich Cimini is probably, out of all the Jets beat writers, the voice I trust the most when it comes to breaking.
Well, sure, he's been around the longest, absolutely, of course.
Yeah, and so I would assume he has the most connections, and for the most part, he's right when he says something. Now, Schefter or Rappaport is definitely and even actually Rappaport even said stuff about Mayfield, but Cimini said that, and it's kind of what I feel is that it's really split. They don't like Allen, which would be great news. It's really they love Rosen, they love Mayfield, and he said they're actually leaning Mayfield. I could see it. I'll say this. I think if Rosen's on the board, they're going to go Rosen, and if he's not, they're going to go Mayfield. That would be my prediction. But Scott, you're right.
I don't know.
But Scott, that's just a guess based off.
No, I know. I'm just saying I don't know what to think. It's so
But even in that case, I think they're getting a good quarterback. And with Mayfield, I think that I could see him picking Mayfield as well. I think they are just that was the whole point of the pick, the third going to 3, is that they really, really are. They know that Mayfield or Rosen are going to be there at 3. Because Rosen wasn't going to get picked at 1 after he said he'd rather go to the right team at a lower pick or whatever it was. So I think they knew when they traded up, okay, you're going to have the opportunities for Rosen or Mayfield. I think they liked Allen's arm, but they have fears of Christian Hackenberg, and they just kind of made a decision, or they just know that, okay, depending on how the board breaks, we have Rosen, we have Mayfield, and if one of them is gone, they're going to take the other. That's the way I think you could say that definitively. I think that it's literally Rosen, Mayfield. If Rosen goes 2, they're going Mayfield. If Mayfield somehow goes 2, if somebody trades up, then Rosen's going with that pick. If they're both on the board, none of us really know besides people in that Jets brass. Rich Cimini seems, and a lot of other people seem to think they lean Mayfield. I think they'll lean Rosen, but again, I don't have sources, and these guys do. So it sounds like, and again, it's smokescreen season. So they could be throwing out Mayfield, but they really like Rosen. Well, I will say, I think.
Well, and the wrench could be. And you guys talked about this earlier, too. The wrench in this whole thing could be if everything kind of falls in a way where if Allen goes number 1, which I still have to believe that the Browns end up going with Darnold, but let's say these rumors end up being true and they pick Allen number 1. And if the rumors about the Giants sitting at 2 and picking Barkley or Chubb, which, Barkley, Barkley is a hell of a player, and I think he has – just tremendous talent, but how do you pick a running back at number 2 with a 37-year-old quarterback who's on his last legs and the ability to trade back and pick up tons of picks? I just don't understand it. But if they do it,
you take a guy like in that scenario, you take Darnold, or you take a guy like Rosen, have him sit behind Eli. Your second-round pick, you go get Darius Geis or Sony Michel, and then think about how much better your offense.
Darius Juice, Ben.
Right.
What? Oh, yeah, I said juice back in January.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, the funny thing about that is, Dan Orlovsky said this, and I think it's an interesting point. He said Rosen would, to him, fits much better. He thought Mayfield's a better fit for the Jets and Rosen's a better fit for the Giants. And the reason he thought that is he said that he thinks the one major criticism of Rosen besides the medical, which obviously there's nothing you can do about that, it just is what it is. The other criticism of him is obviously he doesn't know how to handle coaches or teammates or the media or whatever it is. And I've talked to some people and I've heard some stories. So it seems like there's some truth. Maybe it's exaggerated, whatever. But the point is, who better to learn how to deal with that stuff than Eli Manning, who is the ultimate, say what you will, and I think he's one of the most overrated quarterbacks, probably the most overrated quarterback in my lifetime at least. But as far as handling the media and dealing with, that dude is as calm under pressure and knows how to, just take the heat and not get, cause problems like nobody's business. So if Rosen's going to learn how to be that kind of guy from anybody, it would stand to reason that it would be from Eli Manning. And with Mayfield, Orlovsky thinks that it's kind of a similar situation in the sense that what's the big criticism with Mayfield, right? He's a little wild. He brags a little too much, so on and so forth, which I don't really think is that big of a deal, but whatever. Well, okay, who's more humble? Who's better at kind of taking these young quarterbacks and teaching them how to do the right thing and so on and so forth than Josh McCown, right? Because he's not, McCown's not going to teach Baker Mayfield how to play quarterback, but as far as molding him into as Dan Orlovsky likes to say, the CEO of the offense, so to speak. McCown could be an interesting mentor in that way. So it's kind of weird, but I don't know what they're going to do, the Giants. I still – look, if they take Barkley or whatever, and then the Jets are sitting there at 3 and all 3 of those quarterbacks are on the board, I mean, wow, that's – and now then you're in a situation, Ben and Kyle, where now are you worried because the Jets have too many choices and you're afraid they're going to screw it up?
Exactly, and that was something my dad said to me last night that I don't necessarily agree with, but he literally said, assuming Darnold goes 1 to the Browns, he said he almost hopes the Giants takes a quarterback so he doesn't have to be haunted by the fact that that the Jets choose the wrong one. Let's say, I mean, ignoring Allen, let's say the Giants take Rosen, and then, okay, the Jets have to take Mayfield. And so there's no sort of, I guess we're from Portland and we're big Blazers fans. It's no sort of, okay, well, the Blazers passed on Kevin Durant for Greg Oden. If you're picking 2, you wind up with Kevin Durant, or you had Greg Oden, that was the top, you know what I mean? So his point was basically, he, as a guy who's been a Jets fan for over 50 years, he almost wants the Jets to not have to make the big choice, just to have, okay, either Mayfield or Rosen's there, and they can just settle on that.
And it's interesting because the last time the Jets had a situation where they picked the quote-unquote wrong quarterback, it didn't turn out that badly. I mean, the way I've always said it is they picked Ken O'Brien over Dan Marino, and that's almost like picking Matthew Stafford over, let's say, it's like picking Matthew Stafford over Aaron Rodgers, which is bad, but you could do a hell of a lot worse than Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like picking a bust.
Yeah, a lot of those other quarterbacks did not turn out well. I mean, obviously there was Elway and Kelly that worked out well, but I mean, you look at some of those other picks. I mean, it could have been a lot worse for the
Todd Blackledge.
Yeah, I mean, they could have at least they got a guy who was a good solid starter for them for a few
3-time Pro Bowler, man. I mean, that's not bad at all.
And the thing, we'll wrap up here shortly. But the other thing is, I mean, just think statistically. I mean, there will be, let's say, what do we say? There's 7-8 good quarterbacks that'll get a chance to play in this league, and statistically, 3 of them will probably be long-term starters, right? 3 are like actual, and hopefully more. 3 of them will probably be good. Right now, as it's projecting, it should be Mayfield, Rosen, Darnold, and then you'll have some career backup guys, some busts, and that's just our predictions. But there's always a Dak Prescott that comes out of nowhere and whatnot.
Sure.
And Scott, I just wanted to ask you before we go. I just wanted to ask how much you buy into these analytics, which is something that I've been researching a lot for actually school. But I know a lot of the analytics support Baker Mayfield. Your guy Jim Coburn, who we're going to hope to get on the show after the draft to kind of analyze who the Jets pick, not just a quarterback, but over the place.
You should. He's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah,
Love
he does
Jim.
some great stuff. And based off his Baker Mayfield, I was looking at his pre-bowl game quarterback analytics spreadsheet, and he has Baker Mayfield as the best quarterback at 92. His QB score was a 92.77. Then the next guy was Rosen, who was sitting at an 88.82. Then Darnold was down at an 82.02, which is all still in the good range. And then Josh Allen on this spreadsheet, I think you cited a different one when we originally.
Yeah, I was looking at his cumulative stats. Yeah.
Yeah, Josh Allen has one for 2017 is at 14.22. and he's towards the bottom. I mean, there are so many. I mean, guys from like Tulane are above him, and it's just I don't know. It's rough. Is basically what I'm saying. But anyway, I just for Allen, and as far as analytics go, and that's part of the reason I don't think Cleveland will take him, and even why I don't think the Bills will take him is because I just have a feeling that I know they're 2 very analytically based teams, and I just have a hard time that any analytically based team would overlook a 14 for a QB score. Even if you go PFF, which gives it a little more credit, he's still in like the 50s. So, Scott, my point to you was just last kind of question is how much do you kind of buy into these analytics and how much weight do you put into them as far as, who's going to be a great quarterback? Obviously, it's never perfect, but it does I'll say the example, the analogy I've used for a lot of these analytics that I've had to find, and for even predicting rookie success using like tree models and computer algorithms and stuff. It's like if there are 100 lottery tickets and that there are 7 or 8 hits, there are 7 or 8 successes in those 100. What analytics can do is they can tell you, okay, well, the most number of successful lottery tickets are between numbers 70 and 80. That doesn't mean every number between 70 to 80 is a hit. I mean, you might pitch 73 and that might be a loser, or right. that there aren't good lottery tickets at pick 17 or 92 or whatever. But what it does tell you is that there are the most number of successful lottery tickets or wins or getting cash between numbers 70 and 80, and that's kind of how I use or judge analytics and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, the point is, I mean, you look at Mayfield, Rosen, Darnold, both really high up there. I just wanted to, how do you view analytics? You had Covert on your show. How much weight do you put into them, and how much weight do you think the Jets should put into them?
Well, to be fair, there's different kinds of analytics, right? So what PFF does is they watch the film, and the analytics go based on scores. Like they'll watch, okay, guys, when there was a throw into a tight window, and they'll mark that, or a throw where it was a trick play. Like so that's kind of more film based and all that. What Jim Coburn does is he just takes the data, compiles it, and then uses it. And he said this before. He kind of uses it, or he says it's more meant as a threshold along the lines of what you're saying. So in other words, the data doesn't necessarily guarantee success, but what it does is it makes your bet a lot safer. So in other words, 80 to 90 is the Pro Bowl threshold, 90 to 100 is the All-Pro threshold. From the cumulative stats, Darnold and Mayfield are both in that All-Pro threshold, and Rosen is a little bit below in the Pro Bowl threshold, right?
And including because Darnold's junior season, or excuse me, his sophomore season was much, much better than his junior season, where he struggled a little bit more, had 11 fumbles, 24 total turnovers, which kind of dinged him a little bit as far as his 2017 score. But his cumulative score is much higher than the number I just read.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And actually what Jim said was that as far as individual season scores, his 2016 season blows away just about anybody else's, any season that anyone else has had. But what Jim was saying is that if you get an 80 or above, your chances of becoming a long-term starter in the NFL are 50%. Now, it doesn't sound that good until you consider that the average hit rate on a quarterback is 4%. So what you're doing is you're significantly increasing your odds. Like if you can get a guy who's below the 80, like for instance, Drew Bledsoe was a 68. I think Michael Vick was like a 76. Matt Hasselbeck was a 49. I think that's like the biggest outlier of the bunch. But when you do that, you're really, really shrinking your odds. If you pick a guy that's an 80 to 100, now that significantly increases the odds that you're hitting. However, obviously there are other things in play. Like for instance, two guys that he mentioned that were recent busts were Johnny Manziel and Matt Leinart. Now, with Johnny Manziel, we all know that story, right? And there's other things too. I mean, he was a guy that didn't really watch film. He wasn't a super fast reader. He didn't really read defenses. He wasn't a super fast processor. He was just a guy that, the play would break down, he'd run around, he'd find Mike Evans, whatever. But he was good enough to be good at both college and high school and put together good data. But so the data is kind of meant as like a barrier of sorts. Matt Leinart was a situation where he wasn't really a very good athlete. He didn't have, great feet, so it's not like he could improvise, and he didn't have a big arm. And on top of all of that, obviously there were the character issues. And Leinart, and I'm not picking on him, he's come out and talked about all of this, about how he, if he wishes he could go back and do it over and take it more seriously and so on and so forth. So that's the stuff that the analytics can't really measure. But what it can kind of be is a gatekeeper. Like if you don't get into the 80s, there's a much higher chance of you being a failure at the NFL level. Now the PFF stuff is different because, like I said, they're actually going, and there was an article, I think Klemko actually had it, where he interviewed all the guys from PFF and some of these other services, and they really had Mayfield above everybody else. And the reason is they were like, they charted throws under pressure, they charted, like I said, throws into tight windows, throws in pro-style throws, whatever, all this other stuff. And Mayfield graded out the best in pretty much every category. Now, again, it's going to be a little different because Mayfield wasn't asked to do that as much as Rosen or Darnold were, but when he was asked, he succeeded at a significantly higher level. So I think the analytics are well worth paying attention to. I don't think that they're the only thing that, like, I'm not a guy that would make a pick solely on the analytics, but I would absolutely take it into strong account because, look, it's one thing if Josh Allen, if you took Jim's data and Josh Allen got like a 60, you might be like, well, that's like significantly lower than we like, but I mean, okay. But he got a 26 out of 100, man. A 26. That's a guy that's produced at no level ever. And to pick a guy at number 3 who has analytics that bad, that's a really rough bet to make. I think Dan Orlovsky said something to me along the lines of, it would be like buying 1,000 Powerball tickets and thinking you're going to win. It's a real bad bet, and I just don't understand. Like, again, I'm not saying the data is end all be all or the other stuff at PFF is end all be all, but to make a bet like that with such a high pick, I mean, look, if you're a guy like Mike McCagnon or one of these other general managers who has a team that's been struggling, this could be your career. If Mike McCagnon picks Josh Allen and he's another Christian Hackenberg, he'll be lucky to ever get a job above area scout ever again. So I don't see taking a risk that huge. Like you said, Ben, if you're sitting him behind, or if you're a general manager even that has that kind of, like if you're Ted Thompson or Belichick or even John Schneider and you wanted to do something like that, but man, I don't know. But I do buy into the analytics a lot. Again, I think the analytics are a very useful tool. I think you got to watch the film. This is where like Joe Blewett and I always Joe Blewett's I only watch the film. And to me, you got to watch the film and you got to look at the analytics, which a lot of them, by the way, are based on film anyway. So I think you put them all together and that's really how you make your determination. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm the greatest, whatever. I am what I am. I'm a guy that I think I know a pretty decent amount about football. I know what I see when I watch film, and I'm not going to say I have any like super advanced understanding. Like I can't sit here and break down like specific like route concepts like to a T the way that say somebody like our friend Kyle Smith could, or the way that Joe Blewett could. But I can watch and I can see how a guy processes the reads that he's making, that kind of stuff. And when you watch that and you look at the analytics and you combine the two, that is really, I think, how you get a complete picture. Plus, of course, then you look at stuff like character. Is this guy somebody who's known to be liked by teammates and coaches? Does he work hard? Is he the guy that stays behind to watch the film? Johnny Manziel joked that if the Browns had done their homework on him for 5 seconds, they would have known that he never put in any effort, right? So those are the kind of things that you can't measure from analytics or film, but you put all that together and you get a complete picture of the quarterback. And I think that if you do that, then, you're going to have a situation where there's no guarantees, but you put yourself in the best position to draft a winner, if all of that makes sense.
It did. Scott, I love it. I love the long-winded answers. No,
that's your way of saying shut up, Scott.
I'm scrolling through the day. You actually gave me
to wrap up 14 minutes ago.
Yeah, the only reason I was listening to everything he said, and he's 100% right. Like, I mean, that was spot on. There's not. The thing is after the only thing I don't like about the long answers is, let's say Scott gives a 6-minute answer, what do I respond with? I mean, there's nothing to be said that you didn't say, which is a good thing. I mean, so all I can say is, all right. I mean, you're right. You hit the nail right on the head. I mean, like, exactly how teams should use analytics, and then you kind of just tied it back into this class and our overall thoughts. And Scott, I'll give you some good news for whatever it means. I assume you saw it, but that Baker Mayfield liked a tweet today asking what number he's going to wear for the Jets.
I did see that, yes.
So who knows? Mayfield might be the guy. I mean, it's been like, I love Mayfield, and he shot up my board really since I think it was his Big 12 championship. I watched him, and I had him at 3. And all of a sudden I just watched him. I was like, you know what? I like this guy more than Darnold. I'm sorry. And I put him up 2. And I've been on Rosen's train really since last year. So it would be weird to bail now. For me, Rosen's 1A, Mayfield's 1B. But honestly, I don't care. There are so many qualities I love about – like, it's honestly hard to make a decision. There's so many qualities I love about Mayfield. And then there are so many qualities I love about Rosen. There's not many I dislike. For Rosen, the injuries are concerning to me. For Mayfield, there's, the scheme kind of transition, but not he had to make a lot of, reads and stuff. And then obviously, I'm not that concerned about the height. The character, not really. He seems like a likable leader. I think, I'll put it this way. In another project, so I had to do my senior project. I did it on analytics, and then for another speech and debate project, I was just doing on who the Jets take with their which quarterback the Jets are drafted 3. I have to give a 20-minute presentation on it, and I was kind of laying out the pros and cons. And for Baker Mayfield, one of my pros was emotion. Just think about the emotion he shows on the sideline. But one of the cons is emotion, and that sounds contradictory. And it's the same thing for Rosen. For some teams, people say pro, super smart, con, super smart. It's there are pros and cons to everything. For Mayfield, it's not as concerning as it was to me at the beginning of last season. When I saw him, grabbing his nuts in that video of him getting arrested, which I don't mean to say anything, you might need to question his breakaway speed if he can't get away from a
Kyle has said that many times, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Well, anyway, sorry.
Well,
sorry,
that's not even the best Baker video of all time. The best Baker video of all time is
the dancing Baker.
Nope, not even that. He's got a lot of great videos. It's the one
he does.
My point is
shut up. No, shut up. I'm explaining the video. Damn. Yeah. Or he's going, oh, you forgot who Daddy was. We're gonna have to remind you. And then
stuff like
off the field and then spanks whoever they were playing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like it, but then you have to worry about, well, if it doesn't go his way, how is he gonna react? But it's less of a concern as it was beforehand. Really, it's like Rosen, I'm worried about those 3 concussions. For Mayfield, I'm worried about that he might require some time to transition. But really, it feels like, and I don't want to jinx it, but it feels like if the Jets take Mayfield or Rosen, you can't lose. I think that and I'm not throwing out any comparison specifically, but that quarterback class we mentioned earlier, there was an Elway and there's a Marino. It's I'm not saying they're both going to be Elway or Marino, but I'm saying I think you're looking at 2 really good quarterbacks, and so I don't think you're going to lose either way.
Well, I think if we could take it back to the quarterback class you compare it to, when I asked Jim Coburn about the analytics and what it profiled out to, he mentioned the 2012 draft class, which is kind of interesting because if you go back, the quarterbacks that were picked in that draft, there were 2 of them that were big hits in the mid-rounds, Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson. And then there were 3 quarterbacks. One of them turned out to be a stud, although he's hurt all the time, Andrew Luck. The other looked like he was going to be a stud, but then washed out due to injuries, RG3. And the other one, Ryan Tannehill, has kind of been, up and down. And mediocre, all due respect to our friend Travis Wingfield, who I think has him a lot higher than all of us. He loves Tannehill. Whatever. It is what it is. I'm not as high on him as Travis is, but
wow. Oh, my God.
I think – what?
You guys didn't hear that?
What?
Oh, his voice cracked?
Oh, my God.
It was legendary. I heard it, yeah.
Holy crap, Ben. What was that?
It's called puberty, Kyle.
What?
You might be actually hitting it now.
Yeah, Kyle, just wait till you start growing hair in weird places, buddy.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
No, but anyway, so with the 2012 class, if it ends up like that, it's kind of...
Don't make me get on
all right.
I'm in a relatively
It's kind of interesting because if you look at it, let's say what we were saying is true, and that you have, one guy that profiles closely each one. Well, okay, so you would think that perhaps Darnold is... What?
Are we talking about cops right now?
Yeah, I'm talking about for the 2012 comps. So I'm saying, remember how I was saying before?
You
have... most people don't, Kyle.
Come on. Sometimes it's better to... You definitely should have got that.
I must have just not heard you or not been paying attention.
Are we talking about cops?
Did you say cops?
Yes.
No, I said comps.
Well, I said cops because you brought up.
I know. All right. Oh, all right. Now I got you because I didn't hear. I thought you said comps. I didn't think you said cops.
All right.
Anyway, so back to the actual point. A lot of people have said that Drew Brees is similar to Russell. That Baker Mayfield is similar to Russell Wilson, right? Well, Russell Wilson was picked in the 2012 draft, so maybe Mayfield is your Russell Wilson. Some people have said that if Darnold hits his ceiling, he could be Andrew Luck, so maybe Darnold's your Andrew Luck. And Josh Rosen is a guy that a lot of people have said is really, really good. Maybe he's hit his ceiling. Maybe he's your Kirk Cousins. So, listen, even if that's the case, if Rosen turns out to be a 21-year-old Kirk Cousins, if Mayfield turns out to be a 21-year-old Russell Wilson, if Darnold's a 20-year-old Andrew Luck, any of those three you'd be pretty happy with, I would think, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think there's just, as I'm saying, I think this is just a win-win-win, and this is why I'm all for the trade-up, and it's really since that move. I mean, Scott, think about it. I mean, we were saying that in December. Just get Darnold,
right.
Rosen, Mayfield. Just get one of them,
mm-hmm.
and
yep.
things will look up. And, you know, they unless they blow it, they have hopefully found a way to do that. Anyways, Scott, we got to wrap up. This show is approaching now 2.5 hours. Scott, we know we have another 20 minutes for plugs here, so we're going to get started right now. Scott Mason, Play Like a Jet podcast. Here we go. Let's hear the TurnOnTheJets.com plugs for the week.
Here we go, boys. All right. So first of all,
we need to get the Chris Berman NFL primetime music going in the background.
Dun, 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 dun.
I miss that old music.
Hold on. I gotta get.
I think it's on YouTube
I'll turn it really low.
Yeah.
Tell me how bad the sound quality. Hold on, I got an ad.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, now I'm curious.
We'll download it as a soundbite, but then it's too loud. Okay, we'll just turn it like a 1 or 2. Wait, hold on. Let me get down to it. Okay, hold on. How is the audio in this? Is that
not bad.
A little bit higher. Bit higher.
Okay, I'll go higher. Like that.
Not bad.
Scott, do it. Let's go.
Okay, Scott.
Now
do
it's
the
a little
plug.
too high.
Okay. Right here.
No, Scott, go.
Okay. So, boys, we have a lot of great stuff coming up as far as the NFL draft coverage we're going to be doing at TurnOnTheJets.com. Now, Kyle Fahey is going to play a huge part in that. We're going to talk about that in a second. But we will start it off with a look back in history at the last time that the New York Jets had a pick this high or even close to this high, and that was when they traded up in 2009 to draft Mark Sanchez. And Mark Sanchez became the highly touted rookie. We are now into the playoff run of Mark Sanchez's rookie year. This week we're going to take a look at the second-round matchup against the San Diego Chargers. It's all been with Thomas Jones, the former Pro Bowl running back. So that's on Play Like a Jet on Friday. And then next week it's wall-to-wall coverage. Oh, by the way, I should mention, Thursday we're going to be taking a look. So tomorrow we're going to be taking a special look at the schedule once it comes out. Myself, Joe Malfa, and Dalvin Nasario are going to do a quick reaction podcast on that one. But anyway, next week is where it really gets interesting. Connor Rogers has his stick to the Jets where he's going to do his last draft push. And then on Tuesday, we're going to do a live mock draft. You guys are involved in this too, and we're going to have details on how you can listen to it. It's going to be a mock draft contest too, so everybody can get involved, might be able to win some prizes. All the writers at TurnOnTheJets.com are going to be representing a team, or excuse me, I should say a division in the mock draft. So I've got the NFC East, for instance, and so we're all going to draft. We'll make some trades. It'll be fun. You can listen to that live Tuesday at 9 o'clock. And then it really picks up because Wednesday you guys are going to be here with a brand new Jet Take where you're going to get everybody's last-second predictions and see what everybody thinks will happen on Thursday. Joe Caporoso will have his final draft preview coming out on Thursday morning with the Turn on the Jets podcast. There'll be him and Connor and Dalvin Nasario. And then Thursday, we've got our live draft coverage. It's a live edition of the Jet Take, a special edition, 2 days in a row. Wednesday with Ben Blessington, Thursday, unfortunately, or as Fahey would say, fortunately, without Ben. And we're going to have a series of...
right now, Scott.
I said Fahey said that. I didn't say I would say it. So anyway, that Thursday, Fahey's going to carry us through the first round, and he's going to have a series of guest co-hosts. It's going to be me to start with, and I'm going to stay on with Kyle until the Jets make their pick. Yeah. Then I'll have my thoughts.
Pause. Hold on. Damn music. Hold on. We have to replay it. Hold on.
Just I feel like the wrestler whose entrance theme ends.
Okay, here we go. Okay, back. Continue.
There we go. Back. Yeah, so Thursday we're going to have the live coverage of the draft round 1. We're going to carry you all the way through to the end. And then also once it's done, Kyle will have it all set up for everybody to listen to if they want to listen to it on their way to work the next morning. But we're going to have a rotating panel of co-hosts throughout that night. I'll start off with Kyle, and I will finish off once the Jets make the pick. I'll give my quick reaction. Then we'll tag in a bunch of other people. Joe Caporoso is going to be involved. When Dalvin Osorio gets back from the movies, he'll be involved. We're going to have Joe Malfa is going to be involved, and the Mosh Pit Mosher is going to be involved. Great. David Aiken.
Are we talking about first round or second round?
First round.
No, this is for the first round. Everybody's getting involved.
Okay, DA won't be at the movies then, because he's going to see Infinity War. That comes out the next day, so you don't have to worry about that.
No.
Well, he said he's going Thursday.
No.
It doesn't come. Oh, wait.
Yeah,
wait, sorry. Wait, no. No, it comes out Friday. It's on my birthday. Comes out.
Maybe there's a special screening, but he said he's going Thursday.
And there are hundreds of special screenings on Thursday night for it.
Oh, maybe he's going at a late. Yeah, he might be going at like a midnight type of thing. No, that wouldn't make it. Okay, anyway, it comes out.
They offer it at 9 there's my local AMC on Thursday night.
All right. Sorry, back to music. Scott, continue.
So anyway, we're gonna have a rotating panel of co-hosts. Everybody's going to be involved, and also Kyle will be taking callers for everybody to call in and give their reactions. So, listen, this will be your opportunity to get your voice heard. We can't offer you any great prizes like a free subscription to an already free magazine or anything like that, but you will be able to get your voice heard on
from the top row. Jesus. Okay.
You will be able to have your voice heard, however, with Kyle and the rest of us. Everybody will be involved. And then Friday we're going to do it again, except this time instead of the Jet Take, it is going to be draft season, and it'll be live with Dalvin and Joe Malfa. Fahey will be involved. I'll be involved. Yep. Everybody will be calling in. We'll see what the Jets end up doing in those rounds. And then finally, we're going to do a wrap-up podcast at the end of the weekend, probably on Sunday. But before then, on Saturday, Connor Rogers takes the ball. He's got coverage at Bleacher Report, so it'll be kind of a Bleacher Report Turn on the Jets merging of sorts. And so everybody can go and check out Connor's coverage over at Bleacher Report for rounds 4 through 7. So really, I mean, what I'm saying here, boys, is we've got this covered from A to Z, 1 to infinity. It's going to be so much fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Fahey, we're talking about maybe some video feeds and stuff like that. We're going to have a lot of fun.
We're working on it.
We're working on some ideas. And listen, if you're a Jets fan, if you're a draft fan, TOJ is the place to be. I mean, it always is, but especially now. If you're a Jets fan, this is really the equivalent of Christmas Eve and Christmas morning, Wednesday and Thursday, and we have so much content the whole week, the NFL Christmas week, I guess you could say. So much cooking, really looking forward to it.
Non-denomination.
Yeah, or whatever, or for our friends that are of the Islamic faith, I guess there's got to be a holiday there too. What, Ramadan? No, that's not it.
Let's get Kyle on the phone. We'll call him.
Yeah, we'll get Kyle on the phone. We'll figure it out. But anyway, whatever religion or denomination you are, if you celebrate Festivus, we've got you. The feats of strength, we've got you covered. It's going to be awesome, and
for the rest of us.
And Festivus for the rest of us, and it's going to be a lot. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to really listen. Every single thing you could ever want to know is going to be covered throughout the course of the week. And there you go, boys. I'm really looking forward to everybody being involved.
That was 6 minutes long.
Okay, we need to time that better so we can get the music to cut right when you said it.
Yeah.
We're gonna work on that. That's your new thing.
That's what I was going for. I was stalling to get out the music, but so that's what we're doing. And everybody, make sure you go to turnonthejets.com for the written content too. Written content galore, and we're going to be having up to the second reaction pieces on the draft picks as well. So, so much going on.
Then I return for the most important part of the process: undrafted free agent signings. Here we go.
Yes, and in fact, I think your friend and perhaps future co-host Michael Nania may be working on something with undrafted free agents. I don't know. There's a rumor going around.
I'll get in contact with Michael. Maybe we'll work on something for the undrafted part of additions to the New York Jets. Scott, thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so much for joining us, being that honorary third host for the last leg of the show. just fixing Kyle and I's relationship one episode at a time.
I hate you.
I'm a stupid idiot.
Me or Ben? Wait, who do you hate?
It's me, obviously.
Oh, all right. Just making sure.
I love you, Scott.
Kyle.
Love you too, Kyle.
Thank you.
All right. Anyways, Scott, we
love you also, Ben.
That sounds kind of fake. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Scott, well, I guess next time we talk to you on the show will be Wednesday, the night before the NFL draft. We are very excited. We have a lot of things planned for that night, so make sure to tune in. Scott, I'm looking forward to your call. We'll be in contact throughout the week, but next time you appear on the show, let's hope we're just one more day from that point, closer to the NFL draft, closer to the Jets selecting their franchise quarterback. Just no Josh Allen, Rosen, or Mayfield. We'll be excited. Scott, it's always good to hear from you. Make sure to go follow him at PlayLikeAJet1. Still not a great tag.
That may be fixed very soon. There'll probably be news on that.
Can you give us the option, or can you give us the options here? Or is that a private?
I still have to consult with my social media expert Ben Blessington on the final decision.
It should be at PlayLikeAJetPod. Capitalize each different word. It's just so simple. I'm telling you, that's the move.
It's more than just
once
a
the draft
podcast,
is. Once the draft is over, that may be what I change it to. I'm just trying to get through this draft coverage, and then we're gonna see what happens. But boys, I'm looking forward to talking to you next week. And Kyle, listen, man, just and no matter what it is you feel deep down inside, just try to get along at least until after the draft coverage. If you want to body bag somebody after that, but for now, just read your magazines and keep yourself calm.
Yeah, I'll relax myself playing a nice game of beer pong with Dylan Donahue on a beautiful Lorenzo Malden beer pong table.
Ooh, beer pong with Dylan Donahue. Let's just keep him away from the Lincoln Tunnel.
Yeah.
All right, Scott. Nice to hear from you, man.
All right, boys. I'll catch you next week.
See you next week. All right, that was Scott Mason from the Play Like a Jet podcast. Thank you to him for calling in.
I'm definitely going to hell.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, hey, the Pope said that there's no such thing as hell. So.
All right, there we go.
Joke's on you, Ben.
Damn. All right, Kyle, I guess that's where we'll wrap it. Yeah, we had a pretty fun show. We had callers from Scranton, Pennsylvania. We had Scott. We had a few new ones. Michael.
We had Scott.
We had Michael, who was probably inside the Lincoln Tunnel, but still with some hot takes. Michael Pallas, who was one of those guys that I kept going. I've probably gotten in 8 Twitter arguments with that guy.
Twitter beef.
But I mean,
trigger fingers from the Twitter fingers,
Yeah.
You're getting bodied by Ben Blessington.
What's up, dog?
You don't know that song, do you?
Word.
God, I hate him.
Idiot. Okay, anyways, that's where we're going to wrap it. Thank you guys for listening. You can follow us at The Jet Take on Twitter. You can listen to our podcast at The Jet Take, really any sort of place you're going to listen to podcasts, iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher. We're all over the place. You can find us there. Go check out turnofthejets.com. Scott said it really all in the 6-minute plug. Yep. Best draft coverage out there. Tweet Josh Allen. Tweet at Kyle Fahey NFL. Josh Allen. No. Still listening.
Tweet at Josh Allen and at me that he sucks. All right, that's...
We okay, fine. We'll okay. If you're still listening, sorry, don't do this. If you're still listening, tweet at Kyle Fahey.
Yes.
So at Josh Allen sucks. At Baker Mayfield is dad. At Josh Rosen is
Jewish Jesus.
No. Okay. Don't say that. Mom.
Why?
Okay, wait. Damn it.
Why? No.
Fine. We'll just simplify.
Uncle
at Josh Allen sucks. At Baker Mayfield is dad. Tweet that out. We'll know you're still listening. Okay, thank you guys so much for listening to another episode.
Tag me in it, obviously.
Yes, and obviously tag Kyle. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of The Jet Take. We know it gets crazy and hectic, and we start talking about random things, but we've grown tremendously over the past few weeks. We've been hitting that Wednesday night mark, uploading every night at that time. Thank you to... Well, okay. Yes, Kyle has been doing a lot of the uploading, then I go in and change all of it. But I mean,
your title last week was put back.
All right. I'll take ownership for that. But anyways, yeah. So anyways, sorry. Where was I? You took me off track again. See, anyways, I just wanted to thank all our new listeners and all our new callers for tuning into our show and checking us out. We really appreciate it. If you guys
but don't objectify us.
Okay. If you have any constructive feedback or things you'd like to say, DM us, write us a review. Share our podcast. Every little thing helps. We just want to keep getting better for you guys. And call in. If you're too afraid to call in, don't worry about it. Just call right in. We'll get a few. You ask us a question.
We have had worse. Trust me, we have had worse.
Yeah, that's the motive. Just go after the callers. But you can call in 1-515-739-1285. Enter the PIN/access code 261860 with the pound or hash sign. You can talk to Kyle and I directly Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. That'll do it for us. We'll see you guys next week. 8 days for the NFL draft today. Next week, 1 day from the NFL draft. Kyle, let's hope it's a good one. We'll talk to you guys next week. We'll leave you with the best chant in the National Football League. Everybody have a terrific week. We're getting closer to either Baker Mayfield or Josh Rosen.
You forgot who Daddy was.
Okay, that was just horrible.